Haven isn't like other places.
I can't escape this place.
You were fighting your destiny.
What fate have we earned?
There's always a price.
And we make our own future.
I can't give up.
The final 13 episodes of Haven. Here we are. It is so exciting to be talking about the end of the series. It's going to be a lot, but I'm ready. That's probably debatable actually. So I'll start this video off just by saying thank you so much. Everyone that's watched these videos, liked them, commented on them. It's so cool to hear from you guys. And most surprising to me of all, thank you for subscribing to those of you that have. Thank you. Thank you. It's still a bit of a strange concept to me that people watch these videos and then subscribe to the channel. Like me making videos, people are subscribing to that. Thank you so much. It's really, really cool. So the second half of season 5 didn't air for a long time after the first half finished. So episode 13 of season 5 aired around December of 2014. And then episode 14 didn't air until October of 2015, which is a huge gap. And I don't remember having to wait that long, but I'm sure I was in a significant amount of emotional distress about it. So because this second half picks up immediately after the first half finished, once again I have to try and give a brief recap of what's happened last season. It's like a bit of a previously on Haven type sitch that I have to attempt. As always, if you haven't seen the series, if you haven't seen my recaps, I think the best advice I have for you for this video is to just let it happen. Don't question the absurdity and complexity of what's going on. I'll try and make this brief, if that's possible. Last season we saw Audrey and Mara split off from one another, so they were two separate beings. This, however, meant that Audrey wasn't in her full body, immune, supernatural, alien life source. Mara was in that original body, so she couldn't survive as her own identity because she was an offset of the original being, physically. She had her own identity and she was herself completely, but she needed that physical alienness that Mara is. Then we had Charlotte come to town, who said she was from the CDC and she wanted to make a cure for the troubles that Mara created, obviously. She was actually Mara's mum, and then also obviously Audrey's mum, kind of, and she was like, I'll cure the troubles, I'll fix what my daughter's done. No, actually, I'm gonna recombine the two of you. This would have killed Audrey as an individual identity. She would have just been absorbed by Mara, but Charlotte was like, it'll fix everything, it'll be great. Then at the last minute, after doing some trauma dumping between the two of them, Charlotte chose to kill Mara and just reinstate Audrey as the new physicalized daughter in the immune alien body. So now it's just Audrey in there. There's no one else, no more identities, no more past lives going on, just Audrey in this physical being. So the key highlights from that situation, Mara is dead now and Audrey is immune again because it's just her. Down here with Mr. Wuornos, he's still numb, still loves Audrey, and that's kind of everything that he got to do last season. Just completely reduced to, I love Audrey, I want Audrey back, I need to save Audrey. Still cranky about it. Duke, however, had a lot to do last season. There was lots going on for him. The main points, I guess, are going to be the Duke Mara of it all, and how she manipulated him and used him and exploited him in all of the ways ever and turned him into a trouble bomb. That's probably the most important thing that happened to him. So Duke had been absorbing all of the troubles that his family curse had killed off. He had them all in him. Mara did some handprint stuff and put more in him as well as all those. And then when she died, that triggered the bomb that is Duke to go off and release thousands of troubles into the town out of Duke's eyes because he's exploded troubles from Mara turning him into a trouble bomb. Indescribable amounts of trauma are happening to him, so that's what's going on with Duke. Nathan, Audrey and Charlotte are there at the time of this as well, at the time of the bomb explosion, so they're going to be there when we pick back up as well. What else do I have to mention? The cloud. Have to talk about the cloud. So, someone's trouble, someone's new trouble that's leaked out of Duke. Pre-bomb explosion, there was also a bit of leakage. So he's leaked this trouble into someone, and this trouble has caused a cloud shroud, I think we start to call it, cloud shroud around the town, trapping everyone inside of Haven. We saw Dwight try to leave town, and he just came straight back through the cloud shroud again. You can't get out. Everyone's trapped in Haven, and Duke's exploded troubles into everyone in Haven as well. So not great for the town. And I think that's all Croatoan. So Dave, who we discovered is a bit of an alien like Audrey and like our poor girl Jennifer was. R.I.P. Jennifer, forever in our hearts. She got an updated pic as well because I'm not ready to let her go. So I'm not ready for her to leave. So she's not leaving. She's going to stay here till the end. Dave is sort of like half alien situation, and he's been having visions, supernatural visions of Croatoan related things. So we learnt last season that in Haven lore, Croatoan is some kind of supernatural entity being situation that has killed a lot of people previously and is now in Haven, scratching his name into a rock, perhaps. Croatoan's here. Everyone's got troubles now because they exploded out of Duke. Audrey's her own self now. So that's the one upside. Everything else has just turned into utter mayhem. And that's what you missed on season 5, part 1. Except it's not. That's kind of the key points. Now we can officially move on to episode 14 of season 5 of Haven. Episode 14 of season 5 is New World Order. So this is officially the start of the end for Haven, both in terms of the show's run and also the vibe of this season. Look forward to the apocalyptic vibe. It's coming. So we can see here everyone's looking very serious, and these pics are what I'll call the apocalypse era. Everyone's going to get at least one refresh in this part because Carpe Diem. So as I said, we are starting off exactly where we left off, with Duke having exploded troubles into everyone in town. So he kind of finishes up with that. All of the curses stop flying out of his eyes, and then he passes out, which is understandable. So Charlotte, Nathan, and Audrey are a little bit concerned about where all these troubles have gone, and then we cut to where they've gone. And we see that there's some earthquake troubles going on. Everyone's feeling a bit frightened. There's some explosions in the distance. Haven is not doing well. And Audrey do get to have a little moment before we all split off to deal with the cursed town, and then also Duke, who's looking a bit worse for wear. At the police station, it's absolute chaos as expected, and Dwight reminds us that there is the cloud shroud fog border around the town, and he kind of briefly discusses how that's someone's trouble is creating the border that's trapping everyone in town, so we have to track down the troubled person to get rid of the fog border that's trapping everyone in town. Vince, Dave, Dwight, and Nathan talk about how everyone in town having chaotic troubles could really pose quite an issue for the fate of Haven. How we've tried to keep it a bit of a secret, that the town is cursed, and now that's going to be kind of difficult to do. Vince and Dave now finally also share the Croatoan discovery.
It's here, and we're next.
Really letting you know that Haven is in its apocalypse era. Everything is bad. So the current Croatoan theory is that something came out of the Thinny in North Carolina. It killed a bunch of people then, and now it's in Haven, probably to do the same thing. Should I have given a Thinny refresh in my previously on Haven? Maybe. Thinnies, for those of you who don't remember, are the portals to different worlds, because there's multiple worlds. Thinnies are thin spots between the two worlds. Croatoan is something evil that's come through a thinny from a different world, and now it's in Haven. So we do get a reminder that most people in town don't actually know about the troubles. Somehow, I've pointed out how that feels illogical to me. How is there still people in town that don't know about the troubles? How is there anyone that's not clued into that? This just obviously means that there's a lot of chaos and fear in town, because there's people that are like, what? And I think that's fair. So Dwight tells the Haven police officers to try and keep people calm, because that's going to mitigate the level of trouble chaos. Not sure how effective or helpful that's going to be, and we're going to find that out very soon. Charlotte and Audrey arrive with Duke to the hospital, because once again we should probably have him looked at by a medical professional. So Charlotte says that she's going to go to her research in her lab and try and see if she can sort anything out with that and help out. Duke wakes up from his pass out, and he's feeling 100% right now. He's actually kind of thriving. Duke realizes that everything crazy that's going on is because of his trouble explosion, and he starts to have the guilt about that. Then he reminds us that his plan was to go into the void and explode in there so he couldn't hurt anyone. What's exactly happening right now with cursing everyone in town, so that didn't happen. He was going to go into the void. Audrey didn't know this, that Duke was going to sacrifice himself, so she's a bit sad about it. Duke explains his reasoning to her by just kind of saying, look around. This is what I tried to avoid. Duke then decides he's going to go look in the Crocker family journal, the murder journal, to see if there's any info about what to do if you explode troubles into everyone in town. I can't see that working out for us. At the edge of town with the cloud border, Dwight and Nathan arrive to see that there's a bunch of people frozen in place, like statues. So clearly someone's trouble has just kind of hit pause on everyone. Nathan just pokes someone. He pokes a frozen person, which is quite funny, and I do love him. Dwight points out that threatening to arrest troubled people is just going to cause more upset and more troubles to get triggered, because as we know, emotions are what ramp up and trigger troubles. So if you're like, I'm going to arrest you because you're cursed, might upset someone and cause them to do more cursed things. So Dwight suggests that we need a new tactic, sort of like Audrey's like rapid therapy that she's done the whole series, where she kind of talks to a troubled person, connects with them, calms them down, and then the cursed stuff stops happening. Nathan also points out that being trapped in town by a supernatural fog cloud border is also causing more panic. So there's a few issues that we have to deal with. A car then comes speeding towards the border and it smashes through some frozen people and they crumple and die. So they're like ice blocks, and when you smash them, they're dead. We head back to the station and Dwight and Nathan decide that it's time to let everyone in on the reality of the town that they live in. So then the two guys give everyone an apocalyptic speech, and it's fairly iconic. They just sort of poetically summarize the troubles and the town. It is also kind of crazy for them to just be explaining this out in the open for the first time.
People doing things you can't explain. We call ourselves troubled. We've been in Haven for generations.
This is probably the first moment that, as an audience, you're like, oh, we're stepping it up this season. Everything is changing now. All bets are off. Dwight and Nathan tell all the officers that they need to treat troubled people not like criminals, because, as we've discussed, that'll just make things worse. Duke now rolls into the station to talk to Nathan. Nathan hugs him because bromance, it's back, and I am not going to get sad yet. I'm not gonna get sad yet. That's too early for that. Nathan's obviously emotional because Duke was a bomb and nearly died and stuff, but I'm emotional for other reasons. So Duke now tells Nathan that he needs to help because he feels responsible for troubling everyone in town, which he did do, but Mara is responsible for that. Duke can't really grasp the concept though, because the troubles did come out of him. So Dwight wraps up the troubles speech, and then Stan has a fair question.
What?
Bless his soul. It's gonna be okay, Stan. At the morgue now, we catch up with Gloria, Vince, and Dave. So we want to trigger a new vision for Dave to find out more about Croatoan. So we can expect some antics to be coming up with that crew. Charlotte and Audrey are walking through town trying to track down the guy whose trouble has caused the fog border, the cloud shroud. So we want to track this guy down so that we can fix his trouble, calm him down, and then the cloud will go away and we will no longer be trapped in town. So Charlotte tells Audrey that she's scared of the troubles that Duke has exploded into town because, as we learnt last season, her and Audrey are not immune to Duke troubles. Troubles that come out of Duke, our immune girlies are not immune to, because they're special Duke troubles. All the other troubles they are immune to, Nathan can still feel Audrey. That's kind of how we measure. OG trouble, Nathan being numb, Audrey's immune. New troubles that came out of Duke, Audrey, Charlotte, not immune. Audrey's not concerned about that. She's never really all that worried about her own well-being. So the two of them have a very interesting relationship this season, and I'm a big fan. Where we're at with her right now, it's not giving mother-daughter. It's all very awkward, and I love it. So Nathan, Duke, and some police officers are out in town trying to help troubled people. Nathan then recognizes an officer who he thinks might be causing the frozen people trouble. Then the other officers around them start to freak out and point fingers at this poor guy and get really cranky about it. This then of course panics this officer, so he freezes everyone with his trouble again. Except someone that he doesn't freeze is Duke, because Duke is immune to the spicy troubles that come out of him. Duke gets a turn at being immune. So Duke is now stuck in a predicament where he has to talk down Freeze Trouble Guy and go all Audrey on him. It's clarified again that the troubles that Mara put in Duke whilst turning him into a bomb are brand new troubles. So we've never seen Freeze Trouble before. It hasn't been passed down generationally. She's given Duke fresh troubles to explode into town. So the two different troubles in town that we've got are the spicy troubles that have come out of Duke, and then we've got the OG troubles like Nathan's trouble, Dwight's bullet magnet trouble that have been around for ages. So Freeze Trouble Guy then asks Duke why he's not frozen, and Duke tells him that it's because he gave him the trouble, sort of. Duke is really feeling the guilt. Of course, as we know, it's actually Mara's fault, but she's dead, so Duke's bearing the weight of it all. So Freeze Guy then gets really angry at Duke for doing this to him, so then everyone unfreezes. So Nathan points out, gently, I want to add, he is trying to be kind about it, that Duke's presence at the scene might be upsetting people, because they just found out that Duke exploded the troubles into everyone in town. Duke hears this and pieces out. So he's getting pretty upset. Keep that in mind. Charlotte and Audrey are still looking for the guy that's causing the cloud border around town so that they can get him to bring it down. Charlotte now gives us a bit of exposition. So Charlotte is the one that sealed the thinnies, trapping Mara inside of town. This means that Charlotte can now open these thinnies and get back to her original world through the void. So Charlotte suggests that her and Audrey should just go back to their original world and leave the chaotic, apocalyptic haven behind. She's worried about the fact that she's not immune to Duke's spicy troubles. Audrey is offended by such a suggestion. Absolutely not. She would never abandon the town and all the people she loves and cares about. She's not leaving them. Charlotte's not really understanding that, so she just starts to explain that the family rings that we learned about last season, Audrey's got one, Nathan's got one, Charlotte's got one, 3 members of a family. Charlotte tells us that these rings are what guide them through the void into their world. So Charlotte's like, let's get the rings, we've got all 3, bring Nathan, let's go back to our world and we'll be safe and Haven can just kind of do whatever it's doing. Charlotte doesn't care. Audrey says, no mum.
I am home.
She's home. Charlotte tells Audrey there's no chance of helping people, there's no cure to the troubles, we can't do anything, let's just go. Audrey points out that no mum, you can cure the troubles because you made the barn and the cycle and the trouble curing situation. Charlotte then says, no, actually, that was never going to cure the troubles. So Audrey brings up the whole, if I was going to kill Nathan, the person that I loved, then all of the troubles would be cured. That's what she was told. That's what we've believed. The whole Audrey killing Nathan thing from season 4, that was going to cure the troubles forever. So she's like, what are you talking about, mum? You can cure them. Charlotte then, a little too flippantly, I might add, says that no, if you had done that, it wouldn't have cured the troubles.
It would have killed all troubled people.
It would have killed every single troubled person in existence instantly. It wouldn't have cured the troubles, but it would have gotten rid of them. So that's a bit crazy. Everything we thought we knew, once again, not real. Not real. The show in its final episodes is still taking things from seasons ago and turning them on their heads. Audrey is very upset by this. She's very unhappy with that revelation. Therefore, mother-daughter tension is at an all-time high, and Audrey is back this season to deliver some iconic roasts.
Get the hell out of my town.
Get the hell out of her town. So Audrey now meet back up. Nathan asks Audrey if Charlotte can help because he hasn't learned what Charlotte's real plan was yet. Audrey obviously shuts that down for Nathan and she's like, no. Mum can't help. Charlotte then shows up to the police station to see Dwight, who is still here, not taking him down. I said last season, it's too funny. Dwight on Audrey's tree is like her pseudo stepdad. Also, he's top billed now, so he's on the board, okay? So Charlotte drops off all the info that she's gathered whilst being in town about the troubles and stuff and gives it to Dwight. Says, good luck, bud. I'm out of here. So we can assume now that she's heading to a thinny to use her family ring to go through the void and into her original home world. So now we discover that the guy whose trouble has created the cloud border around town, he's been killed, so now there's no way to get the cloud border down. They're just stuck in town by a cloud indefinitely. This also means that someone has purposefully killed this man in order to keep everyone trapped in Haven. Once again, the town is not doing well. At the station, things are going really rough. It's not a good place to be. Nowhere in town is a good place to be. McHugh shows up again to help Dwight out, so he's going to be popping up this season again. Nathan gives Dwight the info that the fog barrier is sticking around because the guy who created it is dead, so they can't fix his trouble. So we've now come to the decision that people in town do in fact need to know what's up. Audrey have a discussion about how maybe Duke's immunity to the new spicy troubles could help them in terms of the fog border. Dwight then does a town-wide announcement from the police station, and it's very, very dramatic.
Haven as we knew it is gone.
It is in fact reminiscent of the Independence Day speech from the film Independence Day.
We're going to survive!
We can help each other live with what we are.
Dwight is now explaining the troubles to everyone in town through town-wide speakers. It's a small fishing town, I guess they've got to be in the loop on stuff. So he tells everyone that they are trapped in town. Then he tells them that the guard are the group of troubled people that Dwight is now the leader of. They've got the tattoo. There was a death premonition for Duke about the tattoo. We're not talking about that as of right now. That's the guard. Dwight has now instantly put them in charge of the town. Once again, it's a very dramatic speech, and it's very much setting the tone for the apocalypse era and just the last season of the show, just preparing you for devastation. It's a pretty great speech. I think it's handled really well, and then he does a literal mic drop at the end of it, just to punctuate that he slayed that. Nordry now meet up with Duke at the fog border, and it's about to get sad. So they explain to Duke that they've got a plan for him to help bring down the border because of his immunity. Duke says, no guys, it's not going to work. Duke is in his doom and gloom era. He says that everything is all his fault, the state of the town, the death, the destruction, it's on him, just like Nathan did in season 4. It's the same thing, just for Duke. It's his version of Sad Boy season. It's Sad Girl season, for me though. Just a heads up. Audrey does try to comfort Duke, but he's not very receptive right now. So Duke is finally coming to terms with all of the trauma that he's endured throughout the entirety of the show.
Everything that I do in this town hurts someone.
And he's had enough. It's devastating. I hate it. So Duke walks out of town through the fog border and doesn't come straight back through again because he's immune. So yeah, Duke's gone. Nathan confronts Dwight about putting the guard in charge of the town all of a sudden without consulting anyone. He just said, these are my tattooed friends and they're going to take care of you now, to the whole town. He just made that decision on his own. Nathan's fairly offended by this, obviously, and he asks what's going to happen to Haven PD now that Dwight's just put the guard in charge of everything. Dwight then says to Nathan that Haven PD is donezo, doesn't exist anymore. Nathan, once again, obviously doesn't love this and gives a bit of pushback. Dwight just stands his ground about it. Dwight chucks his chief of police badge into the dirt and then drives off with the guard. And I'm really upset about it. So is Nathan. It's a bit petty. Dwight, not my favourite move of yours. So Nathan picks up the badge out of the dirt and looks real sad. There is, of course, multiple levels of sadness because that was his dad's badge. That was Chief Wuornos' badge. It was the chief's chief badge. Back at the morgue with our fun friends there, Gloria says that there's no cause of death on the guy who had the fog border trouble and was killed to keep everyone trapped in Haven. So we don't know how he died. So Gloria says that there's only one other body in Haven history that had the same situation with zero cause of death, and that body was the Colorado kid, also known as Nordry's son. Scary implications there. There's also some strange speckles in the eyes of the dead body, and apparently there was for James as well. And Dave explains that in his visions, Croatoan pulled smoke out of people's eyes. So maybe there's a correlation there. Dave reminds us once again that he thinks that maybe he killed the Colorado kid because of the missing time that he has around the time of the Colorado kid being killed and the fact that he kind of woke up standing over his body. So it doesn't look great. Vince now says, well, no, you couldn't have, because obviously whoever killed James in 1983 killed this guy with the fog border trouble. It's the same killer, and it's not Dave, apparently according to Vince. Dave definitely didn't kill Nordry's son. He definitely didn't do that. Whatever or whoever killed the Colorado kid is now back in Haven killing people again, is what we've learned today, amongst other things. Elsewhere in town with Nordry once again, they are both leaning against the Bronco, and we've discussed how that's my favourite thing ever. Audrey's doing a little bit of a lean on the Bronco right now, gets all leany against the door frame. The two of them are having a really nice moment and reminiscing about Haven PD and all their memories there. It's very sad to feel like that chapter of Haven is now officially over. Charlotte shows back up again. She hasn't left town through a thinny because the fog border trouble closes all exits out of town. So she can't get out either. Nathan is importantly sarcastic about it in this moment.
One big happy family.
I love him. Then he points out that since we're all stuck in Haven together indefinitely, why don't we actually work on a real cure for the troubles instead of just a kill switch? Something that doesn't involve overlaying your daughter's personality every 27 years and killing these identities over and over again for 500 years. Maybe your Cure the Troubles plan this time can involve Audrey not having to kill someone she loves that would just in turn then kill every troubled person ever. Charlotte was so wild for that plan. I'm not letting it go. Nathan suggests to Charlotte to build something that does actually cure everyone. In response, Charlotte says that maybe it would be possible to build something like that. So that's pretty hopeful when compared to everything else going on. Duke is now hitchhiking out of town because he's abandoned everyone, if we recall, but he's going through a lot. It's okay, Duke. Still love him. Duke gets into a very large truck, and then the truck driver says that he's never heard of Haven, like ever. And he says that he's very familiar with the state of Maine. Haven is not a thing, according to this truck driver. Duke does not clock this as concerning, but I'm sure the rest of us can understand that that's just a little bit of a worry. And with that, we have the Season 5 Volume 2 opener. Season 5B opener. It's episode 14 of Season 5. Super simple way to just ease us in to the final episodes of the series. Let's keep it moving, shall we? Episode 15 is titled Power, and it's the start of our post-apocalyptic / dystopian era, and it's one of my favorites. It's such a new atmosphere. I just think this little mini arc is really cool. So it seems like most people in town are now gathering at the school because that's become like a refuge meeting point situation to stay safe from all the crazy troubles still going on in town. So Audrey mentions that we're working on a bit of a list of everyone's new troubles. I guess we want to know who's really dangerous and who could potentially help us with their new curse. Dwight makes a comment about how everyone is given one torch as they go into the school, and they're given a few limited amount of batteries and that they should use them sparingly. So this is how we learn that there is a new trouble that someone has that kills people in complete darkness. Also, there's a whole section of town that has lost power, so that's why there's so many people meeting up at the school. They need to be able to turn lights on and things if they don't want to die from this darkness trouble. Audrey mentions that it's been 2 weeks since Duke left, so it's been 2 weeks in between episode 14 and episode 15. Keeping all these people safe at the school is their best plan for right now until they can solve the darkness trouble. Nathan tells us that there's multiple other little groups of people around town that have formed their own survivor communities. Also, we're just really reminded that Duke is super gone out of town, as evidenced by Nathan driving his truck. We get more clarification on the darkness trouble and learn that it's actual physical darkness that kills you. That'll be a fun reveal when we see what that looks like. A fight breaks out over some extra batteries because we don't want to die from the darkness. One of the people that has stolen the batteries runs into a corridor in the school for some reason, even though it's completely dark in there. So now we do see what this looks like when you're killed by the darkness trouble, and it's kind of a lot. Completely skeletonized, but there's still bits of flesh and blood on the bone, and it's interesting. Duke has made his way to Halifax and he's working as a mechanic. He's just completely not bothered by what's going on in Haven. Haven might as well have never happened to Duke. Back at the school, Charlotte is here. She's fully stuck in Haven, whether she likes it or not. A random lady tells Charlotte that her new trouble is that whenever she feels vain, she becomes reflective. So that's going to come back around and be relevant a little bit later. Trouble Apocalypse Haven is a lot of fun. There is obviously still a fair amount of tension between Charlotte and Audrey. Recent revelations of Charlotte wanting to kill all troubled people ever. Charlotte wants to work on repairing the relationship between her and Audrey because she's still kind of her daughter and it's just all very complicated. But she would like them to be friendly somewhat. Audrey's just being very snarky and stubborn towards her mum, and I'm a big fan. Charlotte explains that her finding an actual cure to the troubles task is proving fairly difficult. If we know our girl Audrey, if there is a way, we're gonna find it. Nathan is now leaning on a door frame again. Need I say more? Audrey are in full swing despite the apocalypse of it all, and we love to see it. A guy named Tony interrupts the Audrey moment and tells Nathan that Dwight wants to see him. Tony then leaves abruptly and goes over to sit next to a woman that we haven't met yet, and Tony and this woman are important. The power starts getting a bit dodgy, and then we learn that Dwight's plan is to get the power plant back up and running, because that would be helpful. Dwight's plan to do this is to just send Nathan to do it, because of course it is. Apparently Nathan is the only person who's been able to make it through something called Trouble Alley and come out the other end alive. Nathan tells Dwight that he would still need some people to come with him to help get the power plant up and running. Dwight then gives the town yet another speech. He's in his speech era. Dwight has decided to implant a justice system into the town. This form of justice being banishing people who do anything wrong into the open without power, so they'll die from the darkness. A fancy way of executing people. Dwight plans on banishing the guy that stole the batteries. Power trip Dwight is still very much alive and well in the post-apocalypse. Nordry point out that banishing people right now is essentially just murder because of the darkness trouble, so they're not super happy. The next day, Nathan is prepping for his trip to the power plant, and we get some exposition about the different team members that are going to be joining him. One of these people is Kira, who is the woman with Tony. So Kira has an electricity trouble, so she's coming with us to help get the power plant doing its power plant things. Charlotte is also coming along. Audrey highlights that it would be fairly inconvenient for Charlotte to die while she's actively working on a cure for the troubles. And then Nathan heads out with his team to go fix the power plant. Vince talks to Dwight about the vague punishment for battery stealer. They're being a bit kind of strange about it. And then Dwight seems to feel a bit bad. So we do see that there is a new body that's shown up, someone that's been murdered and has the speckled eyes. So there's a murderer who killed Fog Border Guy and also presumably James Cogan, the Colorado kid, and now this murderer is in the school actively murdering people. Just outside the school we see a kid show Audrey his new trouble, which is just that he kind of glows. He's just a glow stick. A woman then approaches Audrey and she says that her husband saw someone leave the darkness unharmed. So this woman's husband is a witness who saw the person that has the darkness trouble. This woman shows Audrey a picture of her husband, and we recognize him as the dead guy with the speckled eyes that we saw just moments ago. Back with Mechanic Duke, a girl approaches him and Duke seems to recognize her. Turns out that her name is Haley and she's the daughter of an old friend of his. So Haley tells Duke that her dad, who was Duke's friend, owed people a bunch of money and now they're trying to get that money from her because they can't find her dad. Surprise, surprise, people need help from Duke. All the time. Back to Nathan's power plant excursion, Charlotte notices Nathan's ring around his necklace, and Nathan reminds us about the history of how he got the ring. Quick reminder, Lucy probably gave the ring to the chief because they seem to be quite close, and so when the chief died, Nathan found the ring and now wears it on a necklace. A little necklace wearing boy! Charlotte finally drops the bomb that it was her husband, and therefore Audrey and Mara's father's ring. So there was a Charlotte ring, a Mara ring, Mara's dad had a ring also, that Nathan now wears. Charlotte, Audrey, and Nathan have them now. And that's the 3 family rings. So Charlotte tells us that her husband passed away a long time ago, and Mara kept the ring, and therefore Lucy had it to give it to the chief, for the chief to then pass it down to Nathan. Nathan goes to give it back to Charlotte because he's like, oh, it was your dead husband's ring, you should probably have it back. But Charlotte says, no, it belongs to you now, Nathan, you keep it. Then we get some fun Trouble Alley action stuff. I feel like the Trouble Apocalypse world building stuff that they do here is really cool. I'm having fun. A lot of fun specifically with how Nathan is in his Rick Grimes era. I find it to be absolutely fantastic work, and I could not be more obsessed. I love him. Dave now takes it upon himself to make some noise in the strict no noise making section of Trouble Alley. This causes some sort of invisible monster to start chasing after all of them, and then it kills a guy that came with them that we didn't really know. Wasn't important enough for me to mention him, but he's dead now. So Charlotte gets her foot stuck in some kind of a pallet on the ground whilst running away from the invisible monster. So she thinks she's gonna die. She tells Nathan that the key to curing the troubles is Aether. This of course means that Aether is both what creates the troubles and also apparently cures them. Aether, once again, quick reminder, it's the evil black goo. You do a little handprint moment, trouble. Back again with Duke. He's trying to get the money to help out Haley so that people aren't after her trying to kill her because her dad owes people money. The bank, however, tells him that he doesn't have any money and his account isn't real. His bank account in Haven doesn't exist. So his money doesn't exist because apparently Haven doesn't exist. that's where we're at on that for right now. We'll leave that there. Our power plant excursion crew rock up to the Herald briefly, and we see that it's been trashed. Not the Haven Herald. Nathan asks Charlotte for more information about the Aether revelation that she just dropped, because she didn't die. She was actually not killed by the invisible monster, just that one guy was, and we don't really seem all that sad about it. Nathan reminds us that William stashed a bunch of Aether in Haven, and Mara wanted to find that stash, but she never did. Dave pops up and says that they could use Seth's ghost monitor to find the Aether stash. Do we recall Seth's Aether monitor from season 4? Beeps when Aether is around. So that sounds pretty promising. Charlotte says, okay, sounds great, but let's just deal with the power first, because the darkness is killing people. Back at the school, Audrey confronts Dwight about banishing people into the darkness and killing them. Dwight shuts her down. Our excursion team have now arrived at the power plant, finally. It's been a journey. So they need Kira, Tony's fiance, Tony, the random guy from the school, her to power it up with her electricity trouble that she was apparently not using previous to this. Kira actually seems to be able to make quick work of getting the power plant back up and running, but then she overloads it with power. She's suffering from success here. The power plant now starts sparking and smoking and turns off. So now none of Haven has any power, and they're all going to be plunged into darkness come nightfall, and they're all going to die. Back outside of Haven, Duke asks Hayley if she remembers Haven at all, because she spent some time there, because Duke was obviously friends with her parents. Hayley says, no, I don't remember a town called Haven, despite the fact that she spent a good amount of time there in her childhood. We breeze past that. Hayley tells us that her mum used to have some kind of a power that would help her steal stuff, and Hayley wants to do that too, to pay off the people trying to kill her. So we're able to deduce that Hayley's mum had some kind of trouble. Duke says, no, I won't help you with that situation. I've got kind of some trauma to do with troubles and stuff, so I won't be assisting. Nathan says that he's gonna leave the power plant for them to fix the fact that it's fully broken now, and he's gonna use Seth's Aether detection ghost machine to find the Aether, because curing the troubles would mean that the darkness can't kill anyone. Kira says, oh, I'll come with you, Nathan. She feels a bit bad about breaking the power station, so she's like, I'll go with you and help you with whatever you're doing. So Nathan and Kira are now heading off to go find Aether. Back at the school, Audrey discovers the dead guy / the only witness to the guy with the darkness trouble and his whole speckled eye situation. Safe to say she's pretty cranky with Vince and Dwight about not telling her that people were being actively murdered at the school. So Vince directly calls out to Audrey that the person that killed her and Nathan's son is back in Haven and killed this witness. Also, we've decided to call him the No Marks Killer, despite the fact that there's speckled eyes, which feel like a mark to me, but we're calling him the No Marks Killer. Audrey now gets cranky with Vince about being secretive again, especially about the fact that he knew stuff to do with her son's murder. He knew stuff about his death and didn't tell Audrey or Nathan. That's their child, and Vince didn't say anything. Maybe we should have told them about that. Audrey says, right, Vince, you're going to tell me everything else that you're hiding right now. I've got the shits with you. So Vince does show her other things that are being kept on the down low. So it turns out that instead of banishing people, like we thought they were doing, they're actually using a troubled person to put these banished people into a sleep, and we're just stuffing them into a little room. So that's wonderful. So the troubled guy who's putting people into this sleep talks to Audrey a bit about what the sleep involves. Vince says it's totally humane, Audrey. And Audrey's like, is it? Is it humane? So the sleep trouble guy tells Audrey, yes, it is. They don't know what's going on. It's fine. They're just chilling out. Audrey checks in on sleep trouble guy. She asks him if he's being forced to put people into this sleep with his trouble. He says, no, I was not forced. I offered to help and put people to sleep. Audrey says, okay, but if you change your mind and don't want to put people to sleep anymore, hit me up and I'll help you out. Sleep trouble guy seems appreciative of Audrey's kindness and her reaching out and offering assistance, and we'll keep that in mind for later. At the power plant, Charlotte explains to Dave that he's something called a halfling because he's half human, half whatever type of alien Charlotte and Audrey and Mara are. She says she doesn't know much more than that, and we're not going to get any further info on that. Just BT dubs, he's a halfling, okay? So the power situation is looking fairly dire. It seems like we're not going to be able to get it back up and running before sundown. People at the school are freaking out. They think they're going to die from the darkness. It's all very scary. Dwight gives yet another speech. He loves speech time. Audrey remembers the two expositional troubled people from earlier. So the woman who, when she gets vain, she reflects, and the boy who's a glow stick. So Audrey then gets these two troubles to work cohesively so that the light is reflected off of the woman and everyone's in light. Incredible behavior as usual. Nathan and Kira are not having heaps of luck finding the Aether. Kira mentions the fact that if it weren't for the fog trapping everyone in Haven, she would be miserable in Venice right now.
If it weren't for the shroud, I'd be miserable in Venice right now.
Which feels like such a strange thing for me to point out, but it's not. Thanks for that, Kira. We are going to have to talk about that again. Then it seems like maybe Nathan and Kira are going to find some Aether. At the school again, the power turns back on, so no one's going to die from darkness anymore. Vince and Tony are waiting for the excursion group to return because Tony's fiance is in the excursion group and Vince's brother is in the excursion group, and they're waiting for them to be able to reunite. Dave and Charlotte arrive back at the school, so Vince is excited to see his brother, but Kira has not returned. Tony asks where Kira is and is told that her and Nathan have not come back. Back with Duke's storyline, Haley is getting chased down by the people who want money from her. Duke then gives us some crazy behaviour and he speeds his car at her and the man attacking her. Very interestingly, the car seems to pass right through Haley and not kill her. Duke has triggered Haley's trouble. It's unfortunate for him, but he did it to save her life.
I just hope it doesn't end it.
Poor Duke. At the school, Audrey is just hastily packing a bag to head out and find her man. Charlotte stops her from heading out after Nathan and gives her a motherly hug, which is interesting. It's also brief because then Nathan walks in and they reunite. Just beautiful. Can't get enough of it. Let's be happy while we can be happy, okay? Drink it in. Nathan has returned from the excursion, but Kira has not. Tony, her fiance, is fairly cranky about this and starts to throw some accusations at Nathan. Nathan, as he likes to do, says something crazy. Nathan tells us that Kira is dead.
Kira's dead.
And Tony is upset. Episode 16 is called The Trial of Nathan Wuornos. Yes, it's a callback to one of my top 3 episodes from season 1. Nathan is getting an interesting storyline again. Redemption for my man. At the school, everyone is feeling pretty riled up about Kira being dead. Nathan won't say where she died, how she died, what they were doing. He's not giving any more information other than the fact that she's deceased. Tony now gives a speech and he says that Nathan is a danger to everyone at the school and he's gonna get them all killed. Tony tells Dwight that Nathan needs to be banished, which is rude. Audrey says no, actually, we won't be doing that. Why don't we hear Nathan out just a little bit? Tony doubles down and says that there's some favoritism going on for Nathan, which there is. But that's none of Tony's business. So we cut to a scene with Audrey and Dwight, and we learn that Kira is not, in fact, dead. Nathan's lied about the level of alive that Kira is. So Nathan explains that Kira is trapped underground with a massive stash of Aether. Kira is currently using her trouble to power a single light source so that she's not killed by the darkness. Nathan says that he can't tell everyone that though, because then they would freak out about the Aether of it all and try and hunt it down and cure each other's troubles with it, and it would just be not ideal. So Nathan explains to us that he can't get Kira out of the cave by himself, hence why he's come back to the school to get help so that they can go free her before she dies, ideally. We'd like to get to her before that happens. So Dwight explains to Nathan that he can't really just let him walk out because of how cranky everyone is at him and they want to see him punished for getting Kira killed, who's not actually dead. Nathan suggests that Dwight should just banish him, which is such Nathan behaviour. Nathan suggests that Charlotte and Dwight should go to the cave to save Kira. Audrey points out that Dwight being at the school and being in charge is like the only reason that people aren't attacking Nathan right now. Audrey suggests that they just give the people of the school what they want.
We need to put Nathan on trial.
She wants the trial of Nathan Wuornos. Fantastic idea. Such a cool direction to take this storyline in, and I love it. Audrey says that this will just buy them time until Charlotte and Dwight can get back to the school with Kira, and her being alive will stop everyone from wanting to kill Nathan. We're drawing out the trial until Kira can return alive and well. Dwight gives yet another speech. Oh my god. The CGI people in the crowd are too much. I actually can't deal with that. It's so distracting to me. There's one guy that's just the same guy composited directly next to himself. Why'd they put them so close together? This is what happens when you watch a show too many times. Dwight tells the group that there will be a fair trial where they all decide what to do with Nathan. The people seem happy with that. Back outside of Haven, Duke is currently dealing with a very infuriating Hayley. She's desperate to use her trouble and have fun with it, despite Duke constantly warning her that it's a really dangerous trouble. It's an entertaining storyline. It has a fantastic close for her character, but I think there is like a couple episodes where I sort of can't stand her. She figures out how to use her trouble with a little bit more of a level of control. At the school, Vince and Dave are leading Nathan's trial over the intercom, so people can hear it in the hallways. Nathan being on trial. Nathan tells Audrey that even if the people do decide to banish him, he'll be fine. He's nothing if not resilient. He's a scrappy guy. So the trial is going to work sort of like Tony v Nathan, and they're going to plead their own cases against each other. Tony chimes in and says that Nathan's punishment should not be banishment, because he'll be able to slay out there, and that instead they should execute him and not banish him, just straight up kill him. Someone has given Tony a recap of sorts on Nathan's behaviour and actions throughout the series. I can assure you it's definitely not one of my recaps. The one Tony's heard paints Nathan in a very unfortunate light. If anything, my perspective on the show was too much in his favour, and I can acknowledge that. But I can't stop loving him. Tony twists all of Nathan's past actions to make him sound like a really bad guy. Yes, he is unhinged, but the guy's got a heart of gold. So Nathan asks Tony where he's gotten this subjective, biased information from. Tony is just an asshole about it. Nathan points out that whoever's told Tony about Nathan's history is not Nathan's biggest fan. Audrey says, alright, let's shut this down now. Had enough. My man's in danger. Let's wrap it up. Vince and Dave say that that will just actually make things worse because the people will not trust this system anymore and they'll just go after Nathan themselves. They say that they'll find a legal way to get Nathan out of the execution. That'd be great, guys. Let's get stuck into that. Nathan tells Audrey to go solve the darkness trouble so that Kira doesn't die. That would really be unfortunate for the trial of Nathan Wuornos if she was for real dead. I've said it before, I'll say it again. These two need a holiday. ASAP. Dwight and Charlotte are having a chat on their way to save Kira, and Dwight realizes that Charlotte is being for real about trying to cure the troubles and not kill all the troubled people like she was being for real about previously. Back with Duke, Hayley's being reckless with her trouble again, and Duke says this.
You're gonna end up as part of the gate. I'm gonna be picking you out of it.
Interesting. We find out that that's how Hayley's mum died. I think it's absolutely fantastic how Duke and Hayley are so bound by their fates. It's really important to appreciate moments like this so that you get the full payoff of the rest of the season/series with Hayley and Duke. So the wife of the witness, who is the No Marks killer's recent victim that we saw, she tells Audrey that someone was with her husband when they witnessed the person walk out of the darkness. This means that there is another person in the school who knows who has the darkness trouble. Audrey seems familiar with this person when he's described to her. This guy's a repeat criminal, guessing he's going to be really helpful and not an asshole. Vince and Dave are bickering and panicking about the Nathan situation. Nathan has an idea and says that if Tony has a list of everything he's ever done, that must mean that he's got a list of all the good stuff Nathan's done for the town. So when people hear about that stuff, they won't want him dead. Side note time, is Tony's shirt dirty? Or is that the pattern on it? What's up with Tony's shirt? I can't tell, but it bothers me. Charlotte tells Dwight that there's this great evil entity in the void that feeds off of Aether. She says that this Aether-eating entity is real bad news and that she lost her husband to it. And that's all that she says. She says it happened a really long time ago and she lost her husband to it. These are anecdotes that we are keeping track of. Tony is currently slandering Nathan's name, as expected. Audrey bursts into a room to see Nathan, and she is so cranky. Audrey are so ride or die for each other, and I can't get enough of it. Nathan says that Tony has the right facts, but a really bad perspective on it. Tony continues to lie, and Audrey is still very unhappy about it. Nathan asks her how the trouble solving is going. Audrey tells him about her new lead and the potential witness. Nathan says that he's heard that this witness and his crew are hanging out in the basement. He does give Audrey a warning about approaching them, just to reiterate that they're not great people. Over the intercom, we hear Tony talking about how he'll never get to go to Venice. He says that he and Kira are going to get married there, in Venice. If we recall, Kira made a mention of the fact that she would be miserable if she was currently in Venice, so trouble in paradise. Audrey has now headed down to the basement to see the criminal witness. I'm gonna call this guy Pervy Asshole. So Pervy Asshole and his crew have been shoving people into a dark room to just see if anyone walks back out, not killed by the darkness, and would therefore be the person with the darkness trouble. This is efficient, but murder nonetheless. So Pervy Asshole says he saw a guy with a beard and a yellow bandana leave the darkness, and so he's just putting people with beards in the dark room and killing them. Audrey points out that this is in fact murder. Serial murder. Pervy Asshole doesn't care. Audrey tells him to let the current bearded guy that he's about to throw in the darkness go, and she says this guy's name is Grayson. Audrey says that Grayson has a different trouble, so it's not him with the darkness trouble. We also importantly learn that Grayson is hearing impaired. So Grayson signs to Audrey and insinuates that he can sort of control whatever his trouble is. Pervy Asshole displays pervy asshole behaviour, but Audrey stands her ground and then allows Grayson to use his trouble to incapacitate everyone. So Grayson's got a really cool, crazy sound trouble. McHugh then shows up in the basement and says that Nathan told him that Audrey might need a hand. McHugh says that he's going to send Pervy Asshole to the Sandman. This is now the name for the guy with the sleep trouble who puts banished people to sleep indefinitely. It's an awkward sitch going on with Sandman. Grayson thanks Audrey for saving him, and then she says that she might need to use his trouble later to save Nathan. They're kind of besties, and it's actually very cute. I wish we got to know more about Grayson, but there's not really time this season. Hayley uses her trouble to get inside a bank vault and steal a bunch of money. She's just being a lot. Audrey tells Nathan that she's going to get Grayson to use his trouble to get everyone to scatter so that Nathan can just escape. She's absolutely had enough of Tony telling people that Nathan's a bad guy and getting them to want to kill him. I've also had enough. When it comes to Nathan, we're on the same wavelength. Nathan tells Audrey that Grayson's trouble is too dangerous to use on a group of people. Audrey says she doesn't care, and then we get this exchange.
I will do anything to save you.
Oh, you're stealing my line.
That has historically been his line. Surprise. I love it. Nathan says that back in the season 3 finale, Audrey was prepared to face her fate head on. Audrey points out that this is not Nathan's fate, to be executed for killing someone that he didn't kill because they're actually still alive. Nathan says that Tony is talking about a lot of the stuff that Nathan has done for Haven, so he feels like he's on trial now for being him. So we are now addressing the changes in his character as the series has progressed. He's obviously gone through different phases of his character, one of those being reduced to the guy that just loves Audrey. This episode is so great at acknowledging these things and giving us Nathan's perspective on who he's become and the actions that he's taken in defense of the town and specifically in defense of Audrey. He wants to defend that and feel justified in himself.
The me that I've become since I fell in love with you. I want to defend that.
Absolutely love him, and this is so interesting and fairly complex for him to be addressing. Nathan directly asks Audrey not to have Grayson use his trouble. Nathan also mentions the Venice connection, so there's that payoff.
Changed her mind about marrying Tony?
Kira is not as down for Tony as Tony is down for Kira. Audrey continued to be Audrey, and I'm never going to complain about that. Nathan works on prepping his defense, and Audrey heads back to solve the trouble with the darkness killing people. She's still on that. Audrey does now make pretty quick work of it though, because she sees that Tony has a yellow bandana in his back pocket, and Tony used to have a beard. It's Tony. with the darkness trouble. He's the one killing everyone. What a hypocrite. I hate this guy and his weird dirty shirt. Nathan gives his defense in person. Nathan is delivering his monologue whilst Audrey's confronting Tony. Tony gets very defensive and denies the fact that he has the darkness trouble, and then he starts to activate the darkness trouble. Dwight and Charlotte are currently stuck with only a glow stick. Their chemistry is back on track though, so that's exciting. Tony's trouble is about denial, and Audrey tries to get him to accept the fact that Kira has broken up with him, perhaps, or they're very much on the rocks here. Tony is not initially accepting of that, so the darkness continues to grow in the room. Nathan continues his defense. It's all very beautiful, very poetic. It's fantastic work from him. It's actually Nathan's words that cause Tony to accept his trouble and solve it. Dwight and Charlotte are still waiting out their glow stick. They have a very sweet exchange, and then they don't die because Audrey and Nathan have solved the darkness trouble together. They find Kira and she's not dead, so that's fantastic news. Also, Charlotte finds the stash of Aether, and there's really a lot of it. Like, it's so much Aether. We may be able to cure the troubles. It's now a potential reality. Permanent trouble cure is officially within reach. Back with Duke, Hayley has set off the alarm at the bank where she stole the money out of the vault. A cop then shows up and she tries to flee, so he shoots her, naturally. Some of her blood gets on Duke, and then his eyes turn black, and he gets his super strength moment. It's all coming back to him. This time though, it seems to ignite a very serious murder instinct. He now wants to murder Hayley. Duke tells Hayley to run away from him because he's now trying to kill her. So that's Duke's new thing. At the school, we discover that all the info that Tony got on Nathan was just delivered to Tony by some unknown person. Tony has just been a menace overall, not a helpful guy in the slightest. This means that we still have no idea who desperately wanted Nathan dead. Audrey hypes up Nathan's speech because she's a supportive partner. Audrey says that she can still use Grayson's trouble to stop the murder of Nathan if the trial ends up going that way. She does mention that she actually can't seem to find Grayson right now. He's missing. Before Vince can even announce the verdict of the trial, Kira, Charlotte, and Dwight walk into the school. Duke is still actively chasing Hayley with murder on his mind. Dwight and Charlotte seem to officially be back on, so good for them. Charlotte does mention that she's going to need Audrey's help to control all the Aether. Can't be a one-woman job, they've both got to be in it. Speaking of, Audrey is still currently trying to find Grayson, her bestie. When she does find him, he's in a dark classroom, Blair witching in the corner, in a chair. She discovers that he's been put under the Sandman's sleep, and then the Sandman appears and puts her in the sleep also. Episode 17 is titled Enter Sandman, and it is so fun. 17 is my lucky number. This is the first time the series has had an episode 17, and it's also the first and only time one of our main trio cast has directed an episode. Lucas Bryant showed up to direct one of the show's most fun episodes. The episode opens with none other than Mr. Sandman playing, and we appear to be at some sort of a wedding. We then hear Audrey on the phone to someone, and it becomes clear that she's prepping for her upcoming wedding. She looks adorable. This episode is so fun. She's got the earpiece. We then hard cut back to reality where Audrey is trapped inside of the Sandman sleep, and she's on the floor as well, which is extra unfortunate. Nathan walks in and sees her current state, and he's not thrilled. He also sees Sandman very creepily chillin' in the corner. Nathan asks Sandman what he's done to Audrey. Sandman tells Nathan that Audrey's gone. Back in Halifax, we get another Seth appearance. He's investigating reports of a woman phasing through a shipping container, which we know to be Hayley. She's recently done that to escape murderous Duke. Seth opens the shipping container and finds Duke inside, looking a little bit less murderous. Seth doesn't seem to remember anything about Haven or Duke or what's going on. Duke is thrilled to see Seth. Seth doesn't remember anything about Nathan or Audrey or Troubles or just anything at all. Haven is just not a thing. Because of this, and the fact that Duke is just saying things that make no sense to him, Seth tries to head out. Duke is finally concerned about the fact that no one seems to remember Haven. Back at the school, Nathan is really pissed about the Audrey stuck in the Sandman sleep situation. Charlotte tries to talk Nathan down, and she thinks maybe it was just a mistake. Maybe Sandman accidentally put Audrey into a sleep curse. Perditus. So Dwight asks Sandman if it was just an accident, and Sandman says no, that was an active decision of mine. Dwight asks Sandman to wake Audrey up, and Sandman also says no. Absolutely horrific vibes from this man. We cut back to Sandman wedding dreamland, and it's Sandman himself / Henry is his name, who is the one that's about to marry Audrey. She seems really pumped about it though. It's a very scary and manipulative thing for him to do, to set that up in Dreamland. It's very icky. He's such a good villain for this episode. Sandman essentially explains that once the wedding is official in Dreamland, then Audrey will be trapped in Dreamland forever. So we've got the time stakes now. We've got to get Audrey out of Dreamland before the wedding. Back with Duke, he's still trying to convince Seth that Haven is in fact real and that Seth just doesn't remember it for some reason. Back in said Haven, Sandman explains that he feels like the only person that ever actually cared about him was Audrey, and so that's why he's trapped her in Sandman Dreamland and is gonna Sandman Dreamland marry her. Nathan starts talking real wholesome to catatonic Audrey, who's in Dreamland about to get married to Henry. Still so sweet despite the circumstances. Duke has the idea to show Seth the footage that he took from season 4 of the Rougarou. Anyone remember the Rougarou? Something called a Rougarou, the aether creature. Anyway, Duke thinks that Seth will be able to see this footage that was taken in Haven and then remember Haven. Upon reviewing this footage though, Seth only sees static. Eventually he does see like snippets of the footage and now seems to be accessing small pieces of memories from Haven. So that's promising. Sandman is back reiterating the time crunch we've got before the wedding. Dwight is really angry and threatens to kill Sandman, and then Sandman points out that killing him would not be so great for everyone in Sandman land. It might kill everyone if Sandman dies, but it might not, but we don't know, so we can't do that. Sandman also proves to Dwight that he can just kill people in Sandman land at will by doing so. Full crazy town behavior from him. In Dreamland, Sandman / Henry is making Audrey be in love with him and be really excited to marry him. Grayson then shows up to the wedding venue. In Sandman land, he is no longer hearing impaired. A cool detail I wanted to point out is that a bunch of people that we see in Sandman land are people that we know have been banished into Sandman land, and they all have different roles at the wedding. Sandman kills another person in Sandman land and therefore in real life as well. Duke is still working on getting Seth to remember Haven. It's taking some time. It's a journey to get him there. Duke is real happy for a second once Seth remembers Haven, but then Seth suggests that they go back to Haven to help everyone because obviously something's gone wrong. No one remembers the town that's outside of the town, so whatever's going on inside of the town is probably not good for the town of Haven, Maine. Duke calls Haven a cancer. From his perspective, maybe true? Poor Duke. Charlotte asks Dwight to let her finesse her way into Sandman land. Charlotte believes that once she's in there, she'll be able to get Audrey out. She does a fantastic job of getting her way into Sandman land, but once she gets into Sandman land, things don't go to plan. Charlotte has just been immediately pulled into the Sandman land trance that everyone's in. It is so fun to see these two characters just behaving so unlike themselves. I love it when they get to step out of their archetypes, like the Trouble with Troubles, for example. This episode could be summed up as disturbing, but also very fun. Charlotte seems to break through Sandman land trance just for 1 second, and then gets pulled back in. Sandman seems to clock this, and he's fairly pissed about it. Back in our sad, grey-toned reality, Nathan is still pleading with our catatonic Audrey to come back to him.
This is a party trick compared to what we've been through.
Babe, we've dealt with much crazier things than Sandman. Sandman land Audrey is now in her full wedding dress, and it's a little princess vibe. Absolutely not what Audrey would wear to her wedding. Sandman land Audrey, all bets are off. Charlotte attempts to point out all the weirdness surrounding the lead up to the wedding. Audrey's not having a bar of it though. She's like, I love Henry / Sandman, we're getting married, I look adorable. Stop bringing down the vibe, Charlotte. We learn that Audrey is so stuck in the trance because Sandman is using most of his energy on her. He's focusing on keeping her in the trance most importantly so that he can trap her there after the wedding, which again, that's the real disturbing part, but Audrey in the big ball gown wedding dress is the really fun part. Grayson shows up and is on board with Charlotte questioning Sandman land. He feels a bit weird about it also. Grayson then confronts Sandman after hearing music music, which is kind of devastating to think about.
For me, everywhere's quiet, right?
Hearing the music reminds him that he's not supposed to be able to hear music, and it's just real sad and quite dark. So Grayson starts to sign again because he knows that that's how things are supposed to be for him, and then realizing that he can't get him back into the trance, Sandman kills Grayson. R.I.P. Grayson. I really wish we could have spent more time with him and done more with him, but I understand that a lot had to be achieved in these 13 episodes, but Grayson was a missed opportunity. Also, Charlotte and Audrey witness this murder. Witnessing Grayson's death is what brings Charlotte fully out of the trance as well. So she's fully remembered what's going on, and she starts to feel Audrey in. She's like, "You're my child, and this is Sandman land." Dwight confronts Sandman about killing Grayson, because we're all fairly upset about that. I will finally address the unfortunate prosthetics that are going on with Sandman's face. Lighting in this scene in particular, it's not doing it any favors. It just looks like wax that's peeling off of his face. The way that it's lifting all the time, I'm not a fan. Audrey is now having a hard time accepting the kind of concept of the show that she's in. Charlotte makes a point of the very interesting part of this storyline for Audrey that Nathan mentioned a bit earlier. Sandman Land has stripped Audrey of her identity once again. We thought that was over for her. We thought she was going to get a break, but no. People just stripping away her identity. It's really unfair. Obviously for her character and kind of the themes of what's going on with her and how the season/series ends, I do like that aspect of this episode, and I think it's interesting that in such a cool, wacky episode, we do dive into that just a touch. This revelation of herself and her own agency being taken away once again causes her to realize, oh, I'm in Sandman Land, and she breaks out of the trance. So Seth has found a man in North Carolina who claims he can remove black tar of evil from a person's soul, which sounds exciting to Duke. Seth steps away from Duke for like 2 seconds and then completely forgets Haven all over again. It's very inconvenient. Back in Sandman Land, we get just this beautiful shot. The framing is just gorgeous. I'm a sucker for symmetry. Audrey can now hear Nathan talking to her from reality into dreamland. He gives her the context that she needs in order to get through to Henry to help him not trap her in dreamland. Audrey has an absolutely beautiful flashback reel of the Nordry relationship, and we're nearing the end, and the show keeps doing the flashbacks, and I'm just a bit sensitive about it, to be honest, and that's okay. Sandman approaches Audrey and she tells him that she remembers who she is, what's going on. Duke has now chased down Seth to remind him of Haven. I do love his exhausted energy though.
Yeah, because I was...
Audrey is now working her trouble-solving magic on Sandman. Sandman starts to try and fight it and keep her in the trance, but Audrey stands her ground. Sandman is now very sad and very desperate. Audrey tells Sandman that he can't hold Dreamland together anymore, which does appear to be true because things are falling apart. Literally. Audrey now wakes up out of Sandman Land. Everyone else from Dreamland wakes up too. Dwight and Charlotte, they're so back on. We get a very sad and final look at what Sandman Land looks like now. I think the abrupt change in setting every time we've gone from reality to Dreamland is so jarring, but also it's really visually exciting as well. This episode, disturbing, fun. It's both at the same time. We close out Sandman's storyline by seeing that he would rather be alone in his own dreamland than come out and be a pariah in the real world. Charlotte and Audrey have a little mother-daughter moment and a quick little embrace, so things are going very well for their relationship. We close out into Sandman by the two of them agreeing to work together to solve the troubles forever. What a crazy cool episode. Next up we have episode 18, Wildcard. Something else we have are smiles and smirks to varying degrees. I made a promise in the last video that a certain someone would have a little bit of a happier expression at some point on his tree. He will smile next season, I promise. So behold a little bit of a happier Nathan here, just slightly. Because we have entered the era of episodes where we feel quite hopeful, I thought people could be happy about that. Don't get it twisted though, that does not mean that things are going to be really happy and fine and dandy for the next group of episodes. We open up episode 18 with another one of Dave's weird visions. They're back. So there's people that are being chased and attacked, and there's smoke involved again, and it's all just very Croatoan. Dave wakes up from this vision in a panic panic, and he tells Vince that there's still time to go save these people. So all of a sudden these visions are now premonitions. He knows that there's still a chance to save these people. I don't know when they became premonitions, but that's what they are now. We now cut to Charlotte and Dwight being very domestic and having a little bit of a moment in the morning. Full couple mode for them, so that's another reason that we can smile for now. Dwight discusses with Charlotte how he's going to go meet up with Nathan to deal with the trouble of the week. They're back. And Charlotte is going to be on her way to meet up with Audrey so that they can do Aether stuff. They're couple friends now, which is quite cute, but also a little bit awkward because Charlotte's Audrey's mum and Dwight's Audrey's friend, and they're all like the same age, and it's a bit weird, but cute nonetheless. Dwight and Charlotte are very sweet, they're very adorable, things are looking up for them. Dwight does point out the fact that he's gonna get old at like a normal human rate, and Charlotte is not, and that might be a bit awkward. It's a little bit of an Edward Bella discussion, but role reversal, if you will. Charlotte makes what seems to be just an offhanded comment about liking older men.
Don't worry, you got a thing for older men.
And we'll put a pin in that. Dwight meets up with Nathan in town, and we see that people are back to living in their own homes because the darkness can't kill them anymore. So things are going a bit better, but we are still stuck in town by a cloud shroud border. We still can't get out, and everyone's got a brand new curse. So it's like, things are better than what they were before. So the two of them come across a man who is causing a little bit of panic in the middle of the street. This man is talking about how he can hear the end coming. This man is actually not talking about the supernatural cloud border and everything else going on. He's talking about the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse coming to get him. Nathan notices a small Roman numeral tattoo on this guy's wrist of the number 7, and he's a little bit of an optimist about it, which is new for him.
Lucky number 7, right? So I think you're gonna be fine.
Just to kill that vibe though, this man gets trampled by a bunch of invisible horses. So maybe the horsemen were coming to get him. Moving on to Audrey and Charlotte and what they're up to. They're in the Aether cave that we discovered with Kira. Charlotte explains that the two of them can work together to condense the Aether into a piece for the new barn.
A new barn.
So there's going to be multiple pieces that are going to create the new barn. Audrey finds it important to inquire about how the old barn was actually just going to kill all the troubled people. She's like, are we doing that again? And do I have to like disappear every 27 years and stuff? Are we doing a redo of that? Because that was not ideal. Charlotte does clarify that this barn won't be as genocidal as the last one, and she won't have to go away and have the personality overlay / death all the time. So this one will actually cure people. So that sounds real nice. It sounds like a much better barn situation. So the two of them are getting to work on that strange task of making the Aether piece for the new barn. Vince and Dave arrive at the scene of his vision, his premonition vision. They see that one of the people that Dave saw in his vision is in fact dead, but the other one is not dead. The dead guy from the vision does have the speckled eyes from the No-Marks killer. The mark of the No-Marks killer. And the woman who's alive still, she has no memory of what's happened or who attacked them. Once again, everyone in town seems to suffer from severe memory loss. Everybody's got just a touch of amnesia. Dwight and Nathan now arrive at another crime scene. They're a very fun buddy cop duo at the moment. The victim at this scene seems like he's really gone through it as well. It's another brutal death. But once again, there's no physical evidence, so something else invisible has killed this guy. Super importantly, this dead body also has a Roman numeral tattoo on his wrist. Nathan makes a comment about how they wish they still had contact with the outside world, and then we cut to Duke in the outside world. So Duke is still hanging out with Seth, which is always great news. The two of them have tracked down this mysterious cleanse the black tar out of your soul person. They have a bit of hesitancy about whether they've actually found the correct guy.
I don't know, dude. Is he supposed to be wearing a wizard hat?
Duke approaches this man and he's unhelpful. The two of them seem to give up and then get back inside the van, but the guy that works at the petrol station they're at has left a note for them inside of their van. This note indicates that there really is a supernatural healer man that can help out Duke. Back in Haven, Nathan's Bronco now has a flat tire, which is sad. Dwight reaches into the tray to grab the spare, and then we see that he's got quite a large and strange bruise on his side. Nathan takes this opportunity to make some very out of character comments. He uses this slightly happier mood that he's in to dig at Dwight and have a bit of fun.
These women from other worlds,
Maybe you're not cut out for it.
Love him. This is great work. Dwight now switches gears a bit and brings up the fact that the two of them are going to get really old and their ladies are not going to get old at the same rate. Dwight genuinely asks Nathan for kind of advice about him and Charlotte and whether they have potential for a real relationship. Nathan reassures him, and I'm just very keen on this dynamic right now. Nathan now goes to change his tire and then the bolt breaks. He tries to brush it off because he forgets the show that he's in, and then he notices a Roman numeral tattoo on his wrist. Dwight also has one now. We're back to usual Havenness. In the cave, Charlotte is showing Audrey how to control the Aether, and they've got some really fun hand posture kind of going on. It's interesting. Charlotte then collapses, and Audrey goes blind. So, they also have the trendy new tat as well. Charlotte gives Dwight a call and updates him, and then Dwight returns the favour. We've got weird symptoms and strange tattoos. Dwight wonders if the four of them are being specifically targeted. It's probably a safe bet to say yeah. Nathan has figured out a connection between all the victims, and it's a tarot reader. So he and Dwight now head off to question her. Back with Duke and Seth, petrol station guy claims that he can cleanse Duke of his black tar of evil. He does a strange ritual, and it seems to do something. Something seems to happen. Audrey and Charlotte are currently struggling to control the Aether. It's a bit difficult because of Charlotte's just overall vague weakness and Audrey's blindness. Not ideal for doing supernatural Aether hand dances. I'll note that Audrey's wearing Mara's jacket. Is it Mara's jacket? Or was it Audrey's and Mara took it? Mara wore it. It's fitting that we're giving Mara vibes because we start to talk about her dad. Charlotte tells us that he was essentially like an evil scientist back in their world. So he was banished to the void for experimenting with Aether. Aether was viewed as a very dangerous substance to not be kind of messed with.
Aether can also destroy everything.
Mara's dad messed with it, so he got banished to the void. Charlotte says that after he was banished for doing this, he died in the void. After this quick exposition drop, we go back to trying to handle the Aether. Dwight and Nathan visit a tarot reader. To sum it up real quick, they discover that the tarot cards and their meanings and the illustrations match up with everyone's Roman numeral tattoo. It's a really cool concept and I like it. Nathan tells the tarot reader that her readings are coming true and killing people. She says that she hasn't drawn cards for our main gang, so that can't be true. Dwight notices that all the cards that are affecting our main crew are actually lied out on the table though. She walks over to examine them and then explains what each of the cards mean. Blindness, weakness, bad luck, and torture. So that's not fun for any of our faves, especially not Dwight, who got stitched up with just straight up torture. So the reader says that she doesn't remember drawing any of these cards. This of course means that she has lost time like everyone else, probably caused by the No-Marks killer. The killer has obviously visited this woman and gotten her to draw some unfortunate cards for our gang. Dwight visits Charlotte and Audrey now. He gives us a recap of what we know about the No-Marks killer and the memory loss. He also mentions the carving of the word Croatoan. Charlotte seems to have a bit of a notable reaction to this. She tells us that Croatoan is a name. She clarifies that Croatoan is the name of a monster from the void, a void monster. She also tells us that Croatoan killed Mara's dad. Who is this question mark? I don't think I clarified that, but that's him. So now we understand that Croatoan is the evil that escaped the void way back in the season 4 finale when we put William in there. Croatoan has been causing havoc in town and is the No-Marks killer. Fun stuff. Lots of info. It's not even beginning to scratch the surface. Really prep yourself for what's coming, Croatoan-wise. So much Croatoan coming our way. Duke confronts the evil tar cleanser who was just scamming them and didn't actually do anything to help Duke. Duke is not cleansed or cured of any Aether situations, so poor Duke. So the petrol station guy who just scammed Duke explains that a wise man told him about all the evil tar stuff, and so then he started scamming people. Duke wants to track down this for real wise old man that does know stuff about the evil black tar and see if he can cure him of all the bad Aether stuff. Back with Dwight, Charlotte and Audrey, the three of them discuss how maybe the black speckles in the eyes is Aether. Croatoan is some kind of evil Aether void monster, so it would make sense that the speckles the aether and the smoke getting pulled out of eyes and stuff, that's all connected. Charlotte tells us that her new barn will take all of the aether that's currently in Haven and draw it back into the void, and that's how it's going to cure the troubles. This means that it will also take Croatoan with it, so he will be taken out of Haven also.
It'll take care of them both at the same time.
So this new barn that's going to cure everything, we've got to get that on the go. Charlotte and Audrey head back off to try and do that, despite the weakness and the blindness. Dwight checks in with Nathan and the tarot reader. She has told Nathan that her sister is a psychic medium, and Nathan mentions that just kind of really quickly.
Lainey's sister is a medium.
Nathan also says that his theory is that the tarot reader's trouble is always on, like Nathan's numbness and Dwight's bullet magnetness. He's always numb, he's always a bullet magnet. So they think that the tarot reader symptoms that they've all got, they're also always going to be happening. This is especially unfortunate because now Dwight starts to die from the torture of it all. Nathan comes to the conclusion that the only way to stop this from happening is to get the tarot reader to draw a new card for Dwight and give him a new set of unfortunate symptoms that hopefully don't kill him. She pulls another card and it's the devil. Dwight's got a little bit of bad luck historically, and that's continuing. He does appear to no longer be dying from torture, but he's now chained to a fence. The devil's servants that are illustrated on the tarot card are chained. That's what's happening to Dwight. Possibly a better gig than the torture, but none of it's fun for him. Duke and Seth discover that the old wise man that knew about the evil tar is dead, actually, and there is a guard symbol on his grave. This amuses Duke. He's not having a great time. Nothing's working out for him. Audrey gives Nathan a call and asks him to get the tarot reader to draw new cards for her and Charlotte, because they're really not able to do the fancy aether stuff. The new card drawn for Charlotte is the Lovers, and the reader clarifies what that means.
A couple coming back together.
Lovers coming back together could be something good, is what we're currently thinking. The card drawn for Audrey is the Moon. This card means something along the lines of reality fading into illusion. She can't give us any kind of indication as to what's going to happen to Audrey because of this though. It's a wild card. How fun. Audrey can see now and Charlotte is no longer like collapsing all the time. Hooray for right now. The two of them hold hands and they get back to doing some CGI black goo stuff. They successfully condense the balls of aether into another singular ball of aether, and it's called the Aether Core. The Aether Core is the first piece of the trouble curing and Croatoan banishing barn. I might have to do some sort of a tracker as to the pieces that we need to build the barn, because it's a little bit overwhelming. So Aether Core, number 1, we've got it. Charlotte asks Audrey what were the cards that were drawn for them. When Charlotte hears about the lovers reuniting, she looks a little bit concerned. The two of them race outside to see Dwight, who is still not having the best of times. Charlotte tells Audrey to take the Aether Core and go hide it somewhere. Audrey is hesitant to leave the two of them. Charlotte tells Audrey that it's very important that she hides the core somewhere safe that no one else will be able to find it, so Audrey does head off to do that. Charlotte then gives Dwight a little sad kiss and she starts to head off and leave him chained to the fence. Dwight's upset that Charlotte's just abandoned him. Audrey is now walking downtown trying to hide the Aether Core when she starts disappearing, fading away. So this is what the Moon Tarot card is doing for her. It's just erasing her from existence. We've got a bit of trauma around that. It's a nice thread that we're continuing. I do appreciate these little things that we continue to follow along in terms of character, but I'm also sad about it. Audrey's being erased from reality right now. Nathan tells the tarot reader to just start a whole new reading for them with a new question prompt. Great idea, Nathan. This reading is not going so hot. The question that he asks for the reading is very wholesome and it's just so fitting for the whole theme of the series.
With everything we've done for Haven over the years, what fate have we earned?
The first card that she pulls in response is the Judgment card. She tells them that if their cause is just, they will be able to overcome any obstacle, which is nice and hopeful. Maybe we'll end the episode on a really fun, nice, hopeful note. Or maybe it's still Haven that we're watching and the episode's not over. Audrey is now no longer disappearing and Dwight is freed from the fence. Dwight tells Audrey that Charlotte is gone and that she's left him her ring, her family ring that guides them through the void to go home. That's a weird thing for her to leave. So Audrey and Dwight are now panicking about Charlotte and they run off to go find her. Charlotte is currently packing up all of her research and stuff from her lab. She's approached by an invisible deep voice in the shadows. She tells this voice that she thought that it was dead. It's heavily implied that this voice is is her husband. They have a quick sci-fi expositional conversation. The voice tells Charlotte that it wants the Aether Core. Charlotte tells the voice that he's not going to get it, and he's not going to get to Audrey either. Charlotte then runs at the figure and attacks it with a knife. We cut to Duke in a field, and his weird storyline, we're back there really quick. A random man appears in the field with him. This guy tells Duke that he can give him answers as to what he really is. What Duke really is. Back to Haven, and all of the fun stuff going on here. Audrey arrives at Charlotte's lab and sees her bleeding out and dying on the floor. Charlotte gives Audrey an "I'm dying" speech. Audrey tries to fight it and tell her that no, she's not gonna die, it's gonna be okay, Mum. Charlotte uses her last moments to tell Audrey that Croatoan didn't kill her husband, he is her husband.
Mara's father. Your father.
Croatoan is Mara's and therefore sort of Audrey's dad. Then Charlotte dies. For realsies, she's dead after giving us that info. The closeout of this episode is very much giving season 1 finale, Chief dying, Nathan being distraught. I'm not doing well about it. This is so much. R.I.P. Charlotte. Another one bites the dust. Also, Croatoan is, in fact, Audrey's dad. Kind of Mara's dad. So he's going to be on the family tree now. Episode 19 is Perditus. It apparently has multiple possible meanings, so I'll just list them out. Degenerate, morally depraved, wild, and abandoned. That umbrella of terms. The second option is desperate or hopeless. And the third is reckless. It's probably the first one. Having seen the episode, have your own interpretation. What does Perditus mean to you? That's the real question. We've put Charlotte's body in an ice cream truck, and that's how we open the episode. What is with Nathan and Audrey and putting their dead parents inside of inappropriate cold food storage apparatus?
They're putting him into an esky.
What a strange coincidence. So Croatoan has stabbed Charlotte repeatedly and murdered her. I guess apparently the couple were not on great terms. There was the whole banishment mad scientist thing as well, so who knows what went on there. Nathan tries to comfort Audrey as best he can in this moment. Audrey has shut down emotionally a little bit. Again, understandable. This is pretty unfortunate for her. Audrey tells Nathan to go check on Dwight because it was his girlfriend that was murdered. It was Audrey's mum and Dwight's girlfriend. No one's doing well. And it was Nathan's kind of mother-in-law. Audrey's kind of going through end of season 1 / early season 2 Nathan arc of the dead parent trauma. Dwight shows up to see Vince and Dave and he gets really angry with them about all the secrecy with the visions and the Croatoan stuff and how they haven't told anyone anything. So he wants Vince and Dave to give him a hand in tracking down Croatoan, who has just murdered his partner. Dwight says it's time for you guys to share some info with me and the rest of the team here. Really rude of them to not have been doing so thus far. Audrey bursts in, feeling just as cranky. She tells Dwight that there's no way that he's going to track down Croatoan without her, because she's got some real intense beef with him. Audrey's motivations for hating and wanting to murder Croatoan kind of trump Dwight's.
Croatoan killed my mother and my son.
The son and the mother murder. Audrey tells Dave that he's just going to have another vision, whether he likes it or not. Duke is still in the field with the strange man, and he's in North Carolina now, because he looked for the wise man and found the grave. Duke's just on his own journey right now. I'm sorry. So this strange man in the field tells Duke that he's aware that the Crockers have been trouble collectors for centuries.
Crockers and trouble collectors.
This man then brings up Roanoke and the Lost Colony and starts to explain more stuff with that. So all of the colonists of Roanoke were troubled. Croatoan knew that they were troubled.
What is a Croatoan?
And he wanted to collect all of the troubles out of them. Croatoan was unable to collect the troubles himself, so he cursed the very first Crocker.
Someone who could collect the troubles for him.
Croatoan created the Crocker curse purely so that he could get the Crocker family line to collect troubles for him. So Duke and his trouble collection and his family curse is a Croatoan creation. I do find it a bit strange that Mara didn't mention this, because she would have been aware that she didn't create Duke's trouble, unless I missed something. We're just going to let that be a thing. So this means that Duke's ancestor, the first Crocker cursed man, he killed everyone in Roanoke. He is the reason for the Roanoke colony disappearance, because he murdered all of them and collected their troubles. So that is some overwhelming Haven lore, and it just gets dropped by a random man in a field with Duke. I think I said earlier on, we just learn things about Duke's family and there's never any time to deal with it. And you've just got to accept it and go, yep, and we move on. So this is one of those instances. instances. Nathan is looking through all of Charlotte's research to try and find anything helpful about how to build the new barn, because Charlotte was kind of leading that, and now she obviously cannot help us anymore. Vince makes a comment about how fantastic it would be if we could talk to Charlotte one more time and get some direction on how to keep making the barn. Nathan says maybe we can. He revisits the tarot reader from last episode because he remembers that she mentioned her sister was a psychic medium. That one little comment that he said last episode has set us up for this whole storyline in this episode. I love it, and I think it does a really good job of keeping things cohesive. It works really well to build the world up of Haven, and it feels like a real place. I understand that that was probably not a priority earlier on in the series because everything was very procedural, but I'm just a very big fan of it, and I wanted to call it out. Nathan is told that the sister is squatting at the police station. Audrey and Dwight are trying to force Dave to have another vision by force feeding him alcohol. Bit messed up, but desperate times, I suppose. We do address how strange the connection between Dave and Croatoan is, and how he has all these weird Croatoan visions. We're addressing how that's absolutely bizarre. Audrey makes a note of clarifying that Croatoan isn't really her dad, he's Mara's dad, but Audrey, that kind of does unfortunately mean that he's a little bit your dad, but he's also not. If Charlotte was your mum, then unfortunately Croatoan's your dad, and you can't have it both ways. She can feel how she wants to feel. I'll take a step back. Audrey gets very sincere with Dave about how she's really desperate for help with this, and then he says that he'll keep trying to have the vision. Nathan is now at the Haven police station, which I've missed so much. He's trying to get the medium to connect with Charlotte so that we can ask her how to finish making the barn, but the medium is unable to contact her. The station is very much in post-apocalypse mode, and it's just giving Walking Dead vibes. This whole episode is, and I did listen to the audio commentary, and the writers of this episode are fans of the show, so that would make sense. Nathan makes yet another joke this episode, if you can believe it. Love him. This is the most optimistic he's ever been. A man approaches Nathan and the medium and introduces himself as Herb. Nathan recognizes this name as the tarot reader's dead husband. The medium has a fresh new trouble, and it is that she's able to bring back people from the dead. No longer just have a chat to them, now she can resurrect them. She tells us that everyone in the station with her right now has been brought back. They're all previously dead folks. Another resurrection trouble. Magic Hour Part 3? Actually, no. Let's not do that again. Dave now does in fact have another vision, another Croatoan vision. This time it's of Croatoan killing Charlotte. So that's really fun for Dave. The fun continues for him as Croatoan starts speaking to him through the vision. They're now communicating. Nathan walks in and says that he can bring Charlotte back. He just drops that really quick. Can bring your mum back, babe. Back with Duke and Random Man in the field, Duke clarifies once again that Croatoan created the Crocker Curse to collect the troubles. This reiteration is probably more for our benefit, which is fair. Absolutely wild what's going on with Duke. The Random Field Man then touches Duke's forehead and a beam of light appears. Duke is now transported into a vision of a really not so fun looking Haven. Before we can see any more of that, Dwight and Audrey discuss the potential ramifications of bringing Charlotte back to life. Nathan chimes in and says that they have to take the risk because they need to know how to build the new barn. We've come to the conclusion that we are in fact going to bring Charlotte back from the dead. Dwight heads off to go grab his dead girlfriend's corpse out of the ice cream truck, and that's a real sentence that I've just said. Audrey asks Nathan to go hide the Aether Core in case Croatoan comes after her directly and then is able to find it. Dwight reminds Gloria of how sad his backstory is, and then he collects Charlotte's body.
I've lost so much to the troubles. My daughter.
Just because we always need the dead daughter reminder, particularly this season. We take Charlotte to the police station so that she can be resurrected. The medium places her hands on Charlotte. Dwight and Audrey hold hands, which I find very sweet. Charlotte wakes up from death, and we're all thrilled. We're not thrilled about the fact that she doesn't remember anything past the Aether Cave. Our medium tells us that it takes everyone a little bit of time to remember what's happened to them and how they died. Charlotte does have a really brief flash of being murdered. Possibly prompted by this traumatic memory, she flees the station. She's gone. Back in Duke's vision of Haven, we get a horseshoe crab appearance. Once again, haven't seen those bad boys since season 4. Horseshoe crabs are now a significant part of the plot. Haven is very much in a state of disarray, and Duke finds Vicky drawing the town in crayon on the ground. She tells Duke that she's trying to put it back together with crayons on the concrete. Duke asks where Audrey are, and she says that they're at the cemetery. because they're dead. Not a fan of this blue-green tone haven. Apparently Vince is still alive in this haven. Vicky's gonna take Duke to go see him. Back in regular but still kind of post-apocalypse haven, Nathan gets filled in on the runaway Charlotte situation, which is obviously an issue. He checks in on Audrey, who has a very understandable response.
My recently resurrected interdimensional mother has partial amnesia and ran away.
It's never easy being Audrey. Nathan does tell us that he has successfully hidden the Aether Core, so thanks for that, Nathan. Dave is prepping to go find Charlotte's stuff that might help with the Croatoan situation. He's taking that upon himself. Vince doesn't love this idea because of the whole Croatoan is talking to him and his brain thing. We're a bit concerned about him. Dave says he wants to face things head on though and deal with this. Vince caves and says, righto, let's go do this. Audrey heads back to see the tarot reader. When she arrives, she discovers her dead husband eating her. Tarot reader is being eaten by her recently resurrected husband. I warned you we were serving Walking Dead, and we really are. We're going there. However, headshots are not effective on these walkers. They're really quite resilient. Audrey locks the zombie in a cupboard and then rings Nathan to tell him what's up. Audrey goes back to the station to tell the medium that her resurrected people are zombies.
He was eating Lainey.
Very fun. So now we have to track down all of the other people that she resurrected because they're going to start eating people also. This does include Charlotte. She is now eventually going to turn into a zombie. Dwight finds her. She's not a zombie yet, which is fantastic news. The two of them are able to have a moment together, which is very sweet. It's where this pic's from. I love it. She tells us that she remembers that she was killed, but still not much more than that. Back in Duke's warped haven vision, he arrives to the station to meet up with Vince and find out what's kind of going on. Vince tells Duke that Croatoan won, and that's why Haven looks how it does. Vince tells Duke that they lost because Nathan went into the void and never came back out. Duke tries to ask him why Nathan went into the void. Vince is not helpful and just says that they're all gonna die. Vote of confidence there. Appreciate it. Duke's not having that though, so he grabs a bat and gets ready to battle. It is a sleigh from Duke, and it's also giving Negan. All of the zombies / the resurrected people that the medium brought back have now arrived at the station again, and they're attacking. Once again, we get another very overt Walking Dead reference. I'm still having fun with it. Something else I'm enjoying is how Nathan grabs the same bat that Duke just grabbed in his vision. Nathan uses this bat to knock off a zombie's arm, and it's fantastic work. So our team realize that they're going to have to help solve the medium girl's trouble to stop the zombies from attacking, but that would mean that Charlotte is going to not be back anymore because the trouble will be solved. Charlotte tells Audrey to help the medium and solve the trouble. Audrey's hesitant because she doesn't want Charlotte to die again, but she knows she's got to do it to stop the zombies, and Charlotte is now ready to give the boys the rundown on how to make a new barn.
So you want to build a barn?
Duke seems to be out of his strange vision now, and he walks over to a tree and touches some blood on the tree, and then we're treated to a cheeky neck snap from an identical version of Duke, and it's a lot. This evil type version tells Duke that he's either going to have to save his friends or kill them all. Save everyone or murder them. Thanks, evil Duke. Obviously Duke was still in his weird vision, and so now he does in fact wake up. Seth is standing over him, and Duke asks him where the random field man is. Seth knows nothing of said man, so Duke's really been on a trip. He's been places. Charlotte is helping Audrey solve the medium girl's trouble. She says some very sincere stuff about being Audrey's mum.
The love I gained in getting to know her.
Nathan and Dwight are struggling with the zombies a bit. It's very chaotic. We are now successfully solving the medium girl's trouble, so the zombies are dropping dead again in the order that they were resurrected. This means that Charlotte will have some time to say goodbye to everyone. She says that she's got to tell Audrey a little bit about her dad. We don't see this conversation happen, but once it's over, Audrey steps out of the office and then sends Dwight in. Nathan once again tries to help out Audrey with all of the grief and just how complex this situation is. He fills her in on Charlotte's instructions for the new barn. Turns out we need something called a controller crystal, which is only found in the void. That's a sci-fi sentence right there. We have to get into the void to get a controller crystal. We obviously can't get into the void right now because the cloud border is blocking every single exit out of Haven. Charlotte and Dwight have a very sweet and devastating goodbye, and she dies again. R.I.P. Charlotte once again. She turned out to be really lovely to have around, and I enjoyed her a lot. Dwight now joins Audrey after the Charlotte death. It's all very sad. Dwight tells them that Charlotte remembered what happened to her in terms of the first death, what happened before she died again. Yeah, Let's go with that. Seth is convinced that Duke was visited by his spirit guide, which is funny and very Seth of him. Seth heads into a store to get some road trip snacks. While he's in there, Duke somehow commandeers an absolutely beautiful car. Duke looks fantastic in this car. Thank you, Duke. Duke tells Seth that he's going back to Haven alone. He wants to go back and stop all of his friends from dying. Seth's not down for Duke to go out and do this on his own. Duke points out that Seth's not going to be able to do anything to stop him. As soon as Duke gets enough distance between the two of them, he's going to completely forget about Haven all over again. Duke says that he's not going to drag Seth back into it. And now Duke is heading back towards his fate in Haven. And I'm fine about it. Thinking about what's coming, I'm doing well, if you were wondering. The little fist bump that he gives Seth before he goes, he's heading back willingly to face his fate and save his friends, and he's not dragging Seth into it. He's also just looking so good in this car while he does so, let's not forget. I give Nathan so much love, and I know that, and I can't help it, but don't get it twisted. I love this man too. I love Duke. He's absolutely brilliant in all of the ways. I'll gush over him some more later on. I'll cry. It'll be a fun time. Duke drives away looking absolutely fine, and then Seth instantly forgets him. Vince and Dave are still trying to track down all of Charlotte's research and stuff. They wind up at the Herald, which they think is strange, very odd. Audrey and Dwight then burst in. Audrey says to Dave that he killed Charlotte. So before she died again, Charlotte told Dwight that it was Dave that murdered her. Dave is the murderer of Charlotte. Also, the same way we had a moment for Duke in the car, we have to have a moment for this trio standing in the doorway of the Haven Herald. They look so intimidating. Dwight's head is nearly not even in the frame. Everyone ended this episode absolutely serving. So great job, team. Episode 20 is just passing through, and I love it. And it was directed by Colin Ferguson, so William is directing. It's a really fun, really wild ride, so I hope you're excited. We open with a cranky Nathan interrogating Dave about the whole murdering Charlotte sitch. Dave claims that it was not him and that he was possessed by Croatoan. So Dave believes that he is continuously being possessed by Croatoan and killing people. Dave also explains to Nathan that this is what happened back in 1983 when the Colorado kid was killed. Dave admits that he thinks that he may have killed Nathan's son whilst possessed by Croatoan.
Your son. I think I killed him too, Nathan.
Nathan can't deal with that emotionally right now, so he just puts his detective hat back on. He's fishing for more details about what happened in 1983, specifically about anyone that was on the beach when it happened. I really, really appreciate how consistently relevant the Colorado kid and his murder is in the show. It has evolved so much in its significance to the characters and to the plot, and here we are in the final episodes, and it's still so mysterious and so engaging. Dave tells Nathan that he saw a woman on the beach that day, and also that he saw a thinny on the beach that day. Two very potentially important pieces of information. Nathan asks Dave who the woman was and more about the thinny being there. Dave doesn't have a lot of answers because, surprise, he doesn't have his memories really from anything after that, because no one has their memories from any significant moment in time ever. We just can't remember any of it. Nathan says that if there was a thinny on the beach, then that must mean that there's another way into the void. Audrey are now walking along the beach to the site in which their son was murdered 30 years ago. Just a leisurely stroll towards the place where that happened. I'll point it out here because this is the first time that we see it. Upon listening to the always helpful audio commentary for this episode, Emily had a very severe knee injury, so this is why she spends every scene that she's in either leaning on something or someone. It seems like strange stage direction until you're like, oh, she was injured and couldn't stand up on her own. So, what a trooper. Nathan is explaining the thinny sighting from the beach to Audrey and how there was a thinny on the beach that they weren't previously aware of, but it was there in 1983. We're reminded that the thinnies are important because we need to get into the void to grab the controller crystal to keep working on making the new barn. Audrey has her doubts that they'll be able to create a new barn without Charlotte, because she was kind of a real pivotal and important person in knowing how to do all that stuff. Nathan's got faith though. Like I've said before, he's just uncharacteristically optimistic during this time. Audrey tells Nathan that there's definitely no thinny at the beach right now because she would be able to feel it because of her alien energy and stuff. Nathan wonders if maybe this thingy was a temporary thingy. So Nathan says that we need to find the woman that was on the beach with the thingy. Audrey points out that the last time anyone saw her was 30 years ago. Nathan has a silly little plan as to how to track her down.
I'm going back in time.
Nathan is heading back to 1983. Let's see if he'll make a baby with Lucy. No, he would never. He would never. But wouldn't it be hilarious if he did? So Vince does a sketch of the description of this woman on the beach with the thinny, and then we bring in Stuart from season 3, who sent Duke and Nathan back to the 1950s, where we saw Sarah, and Nathan did make a baby with her. We bring Stuart back in so that he can send Nathan back to 1983, and he can track down this woman on the beach with the thinny and figure out how to get into the void. Are we clear on the plan? It's time travel again. Nathan brings up the fact that he's going back to the exact day that his son was killed, so that's going to be a lot of fun for him. Audrey steps out to roast Nathan's 1983 outfit, so they're still finding time to be fantastic with each other. We hash out the logistics of how we're going to get Stuart to send them back in time, and then we're going to find Stuart in the past and get him to send them back to now. Vince is going to come along too, for reasons somewhat unclear, but he's coming along. Audrey is obviously not joining because she's immune to Stuart, so he can't send her back. Audrey reminds the men not to mess with the whole butterfly effect situation. Audrey hands Nathan something that she says will help him out, but we don't see what it is. She also subtly, but not so subtly, reminds him that he can't change the past. He has to let what happens happen. The murder of their child. Just sit back and let that happen. We catch up with Duke, and he's in a motel. Then a bunch of men barge in and attack him out of nowhere. These people have apparently been tracking Duke and trying to find his whereabouts for years. They've been looking for him, and we don't know who they are or what's up with that. This is especially weird because everyone outside of Haven shouldn't be able to remember Duke because he's from Haven, and remember, no one outside of Haven knows that Haven's a thing. Vince and Nathan show Stuart the iconic Colorado kid pic, and then he sends the two of them back in time. They appear back in 1983 at the Haven police station, and there's a kid there who takes a picture of them with a Polaroid camera. Nathan grabs the photo from the kid and then asks to see Detective Wuornos. He asks to see the chief, who was just a detective in 1983. The 80s vibes at the station are very cool, but obviously nothing can outshine the 1950s full Haven transformation. Nathan peeks into his office and sees the chief and Lucy looking very close. Nathan obviously gets a little bit starstruck at seeing Lucy, just like he did with Sarah. Nathan composes himself, and we see that what Audrey gave him before he went back in time was an FBI badge, so he's now impersonating an FBI agent. Nathan flashes the badge at the chief, who is not the chief yet, but I'm gonna keep calling him the chief. He asks his dad for info about the girl on the beach with the thingy. The chief is not keen on Agent Nathan. We see the chief talk to Lucy about how they know who the woman is that was on the beach. They even give us her name, which is Barbara Colton, and she's troubled. The name Colton might be ringing a bell here. We'll get to it when we get to it. We also learn that Lucy has figured out that it's this date that she's meant to go back into the barn as well and be erased from existence. So Lucy was obviously clued into the fact that that's her deal, and she's ready for it to happen on this date. So this date must also be the date of the Hunter media shower. The chief tells Lucy to go say goodbye to her son before she has to go away forever. Cut back to Duke's very strange situation at the motel. The attackers and the people that have been tracking him for years, they are not being very forthcoming about what's going on at all. And Duke is very much on the struggle bus. He's very confused. We're all confused about what's going on with Duke. No one knows what's happening. Back to the 80s, we have a scene with Nathan and the chief. And obviously I love it. Their relationship is so complex, and I love how it's explored in the manner that it is with an episode like this.
I got a boy named Nate.
Oh yeah? Good kid.
We had that tiny little moment in the season 3 episode Sarah where Nathan came across his dad when he was a little boy. It's very, very cute, and I might cry about it. And now we have Nathan coming across his dad at a similar time to where Nathan is in his own life. The chief lies to Nathan about knowing Barbara Colton and what her deal is. Nathan then has a bit of an awkward slip up and uses a local term. The chief does in fact clock it and seems fairly suspicious of Agent Nathan. The kid with the Polaroid camera approaches Nathan again and asks for his help. He tells Nathan that Duke, who would be a child at this point, has stolen his camera. Duke is an absolute menace in every timeline. So Nathan uses his being from the future expertise to tell this kid where Duke hides all of his stolen things. Elsewhere we see Lucy call James, who yes, is actually back for this episode. Lucy asks James if they can go for one last walk on the beach. Once again, she's about to go into the barn and essentially die for 27 years and then come back as Audrey, but she doesn't know know that yet, so it's all very sad for her and James. Lucy's very sad about the fact that she's going away forever. It's all just giving season 3 finale, and we know how much of an emotional whirlwind that was.
It makes me emotional. I'm fine. Not even upset about it.
The chief approaches Lucy and lets her know that he's aware that Nathan is not in fact FBI. He tells Lucy to distract Nathan so that he can go figure out who he really is. Elsewhere in 1980s Haven, Vince finds Dave. I'll quickly give a shout out to both the past Dave and past Chief portrayals from the respective actors. They did really well convincing us that they were these characters that we're so familiar with, but 30 years prior. Great job! Nathan is now snooping in his dad's office so that he can find out who Barbara Colton is and ask her about the thinny. Lucy walks in to interrupt. They have a really interesting vibe. Lucy hands Nathan a pen and notices his very slight reaction to feeling her touch. She's inquisitive. I love that we now get to see more of her than just the Colorado kid pic and then those couple flashback scenes in season 3. She's so interesting and very different. This scene in particular is so fun between the two of them because they both know that the other is hiding something. Again, it's such a different dynamic between the two actors, like everything has completely changed about their energy, and I love it. Nathan leaves the station to go find Barbara, and Lucy tries to warn her before he gets to her. Nathan rolls up to Barbara's house. Once inside of Barbara's house, Nathan notices that she has one of Audrey's family rings. Suddenly, Barbara makes a thinny appear out of nowhere and then jumps through it and transports herself out of the house. Barbara can make temporary thinnies and transport herself around. She can make portals, essentially. Before Nathan can chase her down and ask her more about how she's doing that, the chief shows up and pulls a gun on his son. Nathan has to admit to the chief that he is his son from the future. The chief seems to have a bit of a hard time swallowing the time travel pill. It is a bit of a hard one the first time round, but you get used to it. He positions himself to stand behind him and then sneakily stab him in the neck with a pin. This then gives us one of my favourite Chief Nathan interactions of all time.
Didn't seem like you even felt it.
Didn't. You're my father.
I know I won't stop gushing about it. This is my last opportunity to do so. Let me have it. I'm grateful for all the things that the show got to do in the last season, but especially exploring more of the Nathan Chief relationship. His relationship with his father informs so much of who he is, and it's just fantastic to see them interact with one another. Dave has quickly figured out that Vince is Vince from the future. Didn't take him long to clock his brother. Vince wants to go against Audrey's advice and get Dave out of Haven so that Croatoan can never possess him in the first place. Vince has broken the time travel rules. He does not care. Back with the bizarre storyline with Duke at the motel, a helicopter arrives in the parking lot of the motel. A guy gets out of the helicopter, enters the room, and then tells us that he's looking for Duke. He's the one that's been telling all these people to find him for years. I'm sorry about the absurdity of Duke's storyline. It gets better very soon. We just have to stick it out. Back to the 1980s. Which is a lot more fun for me. Lucy walks into Barbara's house and overhears the conversation between the chief and Nathan. Not the whole conversation though, and she misses a lot of important context. The chief explains that Barbara was arrested for robbing a bank by phasing through the wall. Does this sound familiar? Yes, this is Haley Colton's mother. Haley, who Duke recently tried to murder, who can phase through things, and she's really reckless with her trouble. Barbara Colton is her mother, and she made a thinny on the beach with the Colorado kid murder. It's all coming back around, everything's connected. Nathan now shows the chief his necklace with the ring on it. The chief knows that it's Lucy's ring because Barbara stole it from Lucy. Therefore, Lucy has not yet gifted it to the chief or left it behind for him before she goes into the barn. Am I explaining the time travel efficiently enough? It makes sense to me in my brain. I've spent too much time thinking about the show. Nathan theorizes that because Barbara has the ring on her, she's able to make her phasing trouble work through the void. As we know, these rings can be used as a way to guide our alien folk through the void and into their home world. So whilst a Colton is possessing this ring, they can use their phasing trouble to also phase through the void. Is that making sense? I think that's as simple as I can make it. The chief then mentions Howard to Nathan, who Nathan is quite familiar with, if we recall the excessive shooting of him. So Howard told the chief that Lucy could stop the troubles forever by killing the person that she loved. Are we feeling the season 4 trauma? Because I am. Really heartbreaking stuff. Kind of to hurt me. We get a tiny little allusion to the fact that maybe Lucy and the Chief were a thing once. We don't get much more than an offhand comment, because then the Chief explains that the person that Lucy loves is her son James. So if Lucy was to do what Howard says and cure the troubles forever by killing someone she loves, for her it would be James. For Audrey, as we remember, it was Nathan, and she didn't do that. She went to the barn and all that crazy stuff happened, and then that carried on into season 4. But as we've learned this season, it actually just kills every troubled person ever. So we don't want to be doing that. As I've mentioned, however, Lucy is only hearing very inconvenient pieces of the conversation. So all she hears is that she can potentially cure the troubles and the suffering of this town forever by killing James. Now, because Lucy is a very different gal to Audrey, she seems to head out to go and murder him and cure the troubles forever. She's going to kill her son. She's been faced with the trolley problem, and she's in favour of saving the masses over her child. The Chief and Nathan don't know that Lucy's heard this and is now off to murder her son, so they continue their conversation a bit.
How are we in the future?
We have some rough times.
As expected, it continues to be beautiful father-son vibes.
You were trying to get me ready to do the job you've been doing.
The Chief does put a stop to it before I can fully have a breakdown, so thanks, Chief. Now Nathan and the Chief do see Lucy leaving the house and realise that she's probably heard about the killing James and curing everyone thing, and that she's probably on her way to go do that. Nathan tells the Chief that if she does do this, it's just going to kill every troubled person ever, including the two of them. The two of them head off to chase Lucy and stop her from doing that, and we get a little brief chat about Nathan's Broncos origin story.
It's Lyman Grood's Bronco.
I know how to wire it.
Damn, I did an outstanding job of training you.
And I couldn't be more thrilled about it. The Chief and Nathan finally part ways. Lucy drops by Dave's house. She's having a crisis about potentially being able to cure every one of their troubles and save them from all the suffering, but obviously she has to kill her son to do that, so bit of a moral quandary. Dave says exactly the wrong thing for this moment, and then Lucy asks him for his gun. So we all know where Lucy's head is at now. Back on the beach, we are ramping up now to essentially the beginning of the show, or the catalyst of the show. We are about to see the murder of the Colorado kid, and it's so cool, if it wasn't so sad. James approaches Lucy to go on their final walk on the beach before she goes into the barn and dies. He is, of course, currently unaware of the fact that his mum is considering murdering him, and neither of them are aware of the fact that that would actually just kill every troubled person ever. It's a severe case of miscommunication. Lucy gets to talk to James about some of her own struggles with identity, which is cool to hear her discuss, because when we met Sarah, she just got to town and she didn't really know what was up with the whole I'm not a real person thing. Lucy tells James that she loves him and loving him makes her feel like a real person. It's actually really sweet and beautiful mother-son vibes between the two of them, and I'm very sad that we didn't get to see more of that with James and Audrey. They didn't get a lot of time together, and then he died in her arms. It's never fun to be Audrey. James heads off for a sec and makes a really quick reference to Arla, his serial killer wife, which is always fun to chat about. She's not yet a serial killer in the 1980s, to be fair. She hasn't done that yet. She's about to. As James is walking away, Lucy raises her gun and aims it at her child. Nathan rocks up in the nick of time and explains that James is their son, his and hers. He's the father of James, and Lucy is his mother, and so is Sarah, and Audrey, and Lexi. I guess everyone Sarah onwards is James's mum. Or are all of them James's mum? That's a conversation for a different day, I think. Lucy's very thrilled to be meeting her baby daddy. She's like, oh my god, we have a child together. Nathan explains that he's not actually here to save James, because it looks like he did just save James from her. She doesn't know what's coming, so it's confusing for her. Now we see the Chief chasing down Barbara Colton, so she opens up a thinny. She runs through this thinny to avoid being apprehended by the Chief, and she opens up a new one on the beach. Nathan observes this and sees once again how Barbara can travel through the thinnies and create them at will. Lucy is once again confused, and things are just going to get worse for her. I'm so sorry, honey. Now we see James wandering along the beach looking for Lucy, and then we see Dave get pulled towards the thinny. Dave disappears into the thinny and then out of the one on the beach, and he is now possessed by Croatoan. Possessed Croatoan Dave appears behind James. Nathan holds back Lucy because he knows what's about to happen, and neither of them can stop it. Lucy and Nathan watch Croatoan kill their son, and it's very upsetting. It's a tough watch. We have finally seen who kills the Colorado kid and how it happens. Now, an important side note / callback. Season 1 recap Jules has officially been proven right, I think. Dave does not have the guard tattoo. He does not have this tattoo. Vince has this tattoo. Dave does not. This means that the premonition from season 1, episode 10, The Hand You're Dealt, in which Vanessa explained to Audrey that she saw how the Colorado kid was gonna die, is incorrect. She said that she saw the same thing that she saw with Duke, which is the person with the guard tattoo killing them.
Some guy with a tattoo grabs my face with his hand.
Dave, no tattoo. Vanessa premonition, person with tattoo killing Colorado kid.
Vanessa had a vision of a Colorado kid before he died, and it was of this man's hand.
Am I missing something? Please let me know, because this is such a weird thing for them to not be consistent about. This is the Colorado kid's death. We've led up to this, we're finally seeing it. Have I missed something that makes that season 1 premonition make sense here? Does Dave have the tattoo and I've never just paid attention? What's going on? If someone knows, please let me know. If it really is an inconsistency and I'm not just missing something, I am bothered by it. It is bothersome. I won't dwell any further. I would just like to point out that I was correct.
I don't actually think this is consistent.
After killing James, Croatoan wipes everyone on the beach's memories, including Dave's. Croatoan then leaves Dave's body. Our Polaroid kid from earlier approaches the scene and we get our iconic Who Killed the Colorado Kid newspaper pic taken in this moment. It's so awesome that the show gives us this moment. I can't stress it enough. The Colorado kid and his mysterious murder has been so pivotal and at the center of everything, and seeing this newspaper picture, the thing that started it all in the pilot, seeing that happen, so good. As usual though, they have to take away from how fun this moment is by making it really sad, because that's Lucy's kid and he's just died in front of her. Something else about this scene that I think about and connects back to season 1 is how devastated Lucy would have been in this moment. Like, she would have been absolutely wrecked. When that little boy walks over to her and holds her hand, who we know to be Duke, it makes sense that she would have maybe given him her necklace in this moment to either comfort him or because she was just letting things go before she went into the barn. She was devastated, knew that her identity was just going away forever, and she just gave this kid the necklace. I can admit that that might be a stretch from me, but ever since we had the season 1 episode As You Were, and we figured out that Lucy gave Duke that necklace, I always wondered, why would she do that? How distraught she was in that moment. She looks completely numb, and this kid walks over to her and holds her hand. Now it makes sense as to why she might just give out something of her own. I've always wanted more of an explanation as to how that handover happened from Lucy to Duke with the necklace, and that makes sense to me, so I thought I would share. Tangent over. The Colorado kid murder mystery has been revealed. Back to sorting things out in the current timeline. Nathan and Vince now know that Barbara Colton can create thinnies. Audrey checks in on Nathan after his traumatic time travel trip. The 80s were a lot less fun for Nathan than what the 50s were. Audrey discuss how obviously the chief got the ring back from Barbara, and that's how Nathan's ended up with it now. Nathan also mentions how the chief would have remembered this interaction of his son coming back in time forever. Like, he didn't forget that. His memory did not get wiped. But of course the chief never said anything to Nathan, because that would have interrupted the future and how things went. Nathan says it himself that this really does make sense for a lot of the actions and behavior and attitude that the chief had towards his son, because he knew that he needed to be a certain person by the time he was going back to the 80s to save Haven. Fantastic writing this episode, which is why the lack of tattoo thing upsets me so much, because everything else about this episode is so good. Audrey brings down the mood a bit by telling Nathan that there are no Coltons in Haven, and there hasn't been for ages. Therefore, we can't get one of them to open a thingy so that we can go into the void and get the controller crystal to make the new barn, because remember, that's what we're doing. Nathan says, "Don't worry, Audrey. I've sorted out the lack of there being a Colton in Haven right now." So now we get back to Duke, and things are coming back around. I promise. We are near the end. The guy that stepped out of the helicopter that seemed to be in charge of all the other men that attacked Duke, this is the kid that we just met from the 1980s that had the camera that Duke stole. This guy explains that he doesn't even remember why he was looking for Duke. He doesn't know why he spent so many years tracking him down, keeping an eye on him. He's got no idea. what's up with that. He doesn't even remember knowing Duke in their childhood, and he doesn't really remember his childhood at all. He doesn't know what's going on, but he came out of a helicopter to see this random man in a motel. He's still affected by the shroud that makes everyone outside of Haven not remember Haven anymore, but he also knows that he needed to keep track of Duke. This guy says he's been tracking Duke for almost 3 decades. He can't remember why, but he knows that he had to track him down on this exact date to give him something. He hands Duke a letter and then says that now he's done tracking Duke and he can stop with that endeavour that he's been on for 3 decades. He just up and leaves now, and Duke reads the letter. This letter is of course from Nathan in 1983. Nathan explains to Duke that he's found a way to save Haven, but he needs Duke to bring a member of the Colton family back into Haven through the cloud. Duke needs to bring Hayley back into Haven so that she can use her trouble and an Audrey family ring to make a thingy so that someone can go into the void, get the controller crystal, bring it back out, and they can finish making the barn. So Duke now has to make a stop and pick up Hayley before he heads back into Haven. Just before I wrap this episode up, which I've spent an unreasonable amount of time recapping, I'm sorry. I just think it's a little bit crazy that this kid had to keep an eye on Duke for so incredibly long just to give him a letter on this exact date. Just because an FBI agent helped you find your camera 30 years ago, you're still keeping track of this random man so that you can give him a letter. Anyway, that's just passing through. Episode 21 is close to home, and it's a bit of a funky, weird one, so let's talk about it. We open with our first ever exterior shot of Nathan Wuornos' home. It's little and it's yellow, and I love it, and I love him. So he and Audrey are discussing the whole vague controller crystal in the void thing and just how crazy everything is right now. We get a beautiful moment of Rand Audrey bliss, love to see it. We also get a really nice exchange of dialogue between the two as they discuss as well how they never get to have these moments. Nathan does bring us back to reality by telling us that when Duke comes back to Haven, he's going to go into the void and get the controller crystal. Audrey has her doubts as to whether Duke will come back at all, and that's our first little wonderful seed planted of the Duke-Audrey tension coming up. On the edge of town, at the Cloud Shroud, we see a little kid playing catch, which is just such a kid thing to do in Haven. They would be so used to this. They would be like, yeah, I'm going to play catch with the Cloud. Duke then re-enters Haven through the fog with Hayley in a very dramatic way, and probably a little bit scary for the kid. Once Duke and Hayley are officially back inside of Haven, she explains that all of her memories of growing up in the town have now returned. Duke looks a little bit concerned about the apocalyptic state of the town, but it's not as bad as it was in his weird vision. Things could be worse. Back at Nathan's place, we get some fantastic additions to understanding what Nathan's life would be like as a numb man. Post-it notes on the stove reminding him not to burn himself, little indicators as to which way's hot and which way's cold on the dials. Cannot get enough of it. I wish we didn't have to wait for the last season to see this kind of stuff about him and how his life would operate, but I'm happy with it nonetheless. I'm gonna stop complaining, I think. Maybe I'm not though. This is my last opportunity to complain about things in this little sci-fi show that I care about an unreasonable amount, so I'm probably gonna seize the day. Nathan is still in his strange, happy mood. I'm enjoying it. He discusses with Audrey how the town really is in apocalypse mode. Haven supplies are depleting, and they discuss trading coffee for wine. They really are living in a dystopia. What a horrible decision to have to make. Audrey's a little bit upset because she wants to go into the void instead of Nathan. Humans aren't supposed to be able to fare very well in the void, so she's got concerns about whether Nathan will survive. Nathan's so unbothered about that. Audrey suggests that they go together and make it a bit of an Audrey excursion. Nathan does point out that one of them should probably stay in Haven and keep an eye on things. He also gives Audrey a very playful roast.
I'm a much faster runner.
Light and happy and bubbly little Nathan is maybe my favourite. I'm not complaining about having happy little jokester around. Then we get a knock at the door, and it's Duke. Duke is back in Haven. Nathan steps out to hug him, and he's so grateful to see him, and it's giving bromance, and I've missed it. Audrey, however, looks like she's got some other feelings towards Duke. Doesn't seem like they're great feelings. Vince and Dave are elsewhere playing cards because we're keeping a very close eye on Dave because he could potentially be possessed by Croatoan at any moment and kill someone. Audrey, Duke and Hayley have returned back to Hayley's childhood home. Duke breaks the news to Nathan that no one outside of Haven knows that Haven's a thing. The supernatural fog around the town is really just an inconvenience. Nathan reiterates how grateful he is to have Duke back in town, and Duke makes a comment about the fact that he's pretty sure that Audrey does not share that feeling. He's not getting grateful for his return energy from her. Duke then asks why he needed to come back with a member of the Colton family. Nathan now explains to Duke Duke that he needs her to use her trouble and an Audrey family ring to open up a thingy so that he can go into the void and get the controller crystal so they can make the barn. Duke remembers his dystopian, weird vision where everyone was dead. He tells Nathan that that future vision apparently happens because Nathan goes into the void and doesn't come out. So Duke's not all that keen on Nathan going into the void.
I came here to prevent the apocalypse, not help you start it.
Nathan is down to go into the void and explains that it's pretty much their only shot to save Haven. So he's going in. Hero Complex is back in action from our favourite man. Next we see the woman who exploded her partner outside of the Gull last season. Do we remember her? Duke let out of trouble and it went into her and it made everything she touches explode, and she touched her partner and he exploded. Anyway, she rolls up and sees that Duke is back in town and she's unhappy about it. Dwight shows up at the Herald to see Vince, and Vince is desperately trying to find any way to free Dave from Croatoan and the possession stuff. He wants to save his brother. Dwight says, yeah, sounds like a plan, so they're working together to save Dave from the Croatoan possessions. Back at the Colton house, Audrey is explaining Hayley's trouble potential to her and how she can phase through the air. Audrey's also rugged up in this very cozy looking jacket. Everyone gets some nice wintry clothes as we close out the season. Both parts of season 5 were shot during one year. They were shooting during a lot colder weather, so the characters get new cozy wardrobe, and I'm a little bit obsessed with it. Audrey continued to explain the void portal situation to Hayley, and she's just super chill about it. That's her attitude for right now. Hayley shows us that she can create the thingy with no trouble at all. Nathan explains to Hayley how her mum kept the doorway open for a little bit longer in 1983, and Hayley realizes that her mum was a part of all this and it's all coming together for her. So Hayley is going to open up the thingy so that Nathan can go into the void, and then she's going to reopen a thingy every few hours so that Nathan can come back through the void. And Audrey say their goodbyes. They do a lot of those. Nathan now heads into the void to find the controller crystal. He shows up in a cave, and we have a really fun green-blue filter going on to let us know that we're in the void. Nathan steps outside of the cave to see the creepy void forest, and he heads out on his journey. So Audrey now heads back inside to talk to Duke for the first time, and we're about to get some really good stuff. So Duke explains to her how Hayley is really impulsive and not so good at controlling her trouble. Essentially, Duke is just not down with the plan to use Hayley to open up the thingy and help out with the controller crystal retrieval. He thinks that she's too unstable. Audrey explains that Hayley told her that Duke tried to kill her, so that's another reason for her to not be so down for Duke right now. Duke uses this information to support his case about Hayley not being capable or mature enough to control her trouble if she's willing to walk back into a town with a guy that just tried to kill her. She's probably not super capable of making great decisions. Audrey finally cuts the shit and tells Duke that she's pissed at him for leaving. Duke counters this and is also pissed off that Audrey is constantly needing his help for things. Things get quite heated and they throw back really valid complaints and criticisms of each other, and it's wow. Just such a good scene.
I came back, didn't I?
You want a medal for doing the right thing?
I have expressed how much I love the Duke-Audrey tension that's happened throughout the series, and this is just a stellar example of that. Duke once again brings up his fate and how he can't escape Haven. It's very sad stuff, and it's just going to get sadder, and we keep getting closer to it, and I'm scared. Duke interestingly compares his connection to the town and his fate with Audrey's connection to the town.
I'm tied to it, just like you.
Audrey delivers a fantastic roast and then walks out of the room.
You and I are nothing alike. I care about people.
And that's probably my favourite scene of the episode. We don't really get to let it marinate though, because then the girl who explodes things walks in and she's very, very angry at Duke. Probably crankier than Audrey right now, which is a bit of a feat. Pissing off women left, right and centre. So Explosion Girl is Lisa, so I'll call her Lisa now. So Lisa is here to explode Duke, but as we know, Duke is immune to that trouble because it came out of him. It's a spicy trouble, so it does not affect Duke. So instead of blowing up Duke directly, she thinks that she'll just blow up the house and then he'll die in the house explosion. Dwight and Vince are really struggling to find any helpful info about how to free Dave from Croatoan. Vince says that if it does come down to it, he's willing to kill Dave to save the town. It's a very complex brother relationship. They keep discussing potential ways that they could use troubles to separate Croatoan from Dave. Back in the void, Nathan falls down a hole. It's not off to a good start. Guess who's there to stand over him and chuckle? It's William. Nathan lies to William and tells him that Mara sent him into the void to get the controller crystal to stop Croatoan, and that Mara's definitely not dead. Don't worry about it, she's definitely alive. Some good improving there, my guy. That's stellar work. Nathan says that he wants to help Mara get the crystal because he believes that Audrey is still inside of her. So he's reliving the season 5A storyline because we don't want to tell William that Mara's font is now black. We'd rather him not know. If William William found out that Mara was dead, he'd probably not be super keen on helping Nathan find the controller crystal. William is still motivated to help Mara because he always seemed to really actually care about her, but as we learned last season, she doesn't actually seem to have really cared about him. Back at the Colton house, Duke is trying to talk down Lisa from blowing up the house and killing everyone. He reminds us that he does in fact feel guilty about all the troubles that came out of him that Mara put in him. He feels like that is in fact his fault. Void again, and William and Nathan are clashing pretty hard on their journey, and it's actually very fun. William seems aware of how scary of an entity Croatoan is, so he's obviously either heard a lot about him or come across him at some point. Nathan coughs a little bit, and then William tells him it's because humans don't last long in the void. William takes Nathan to the spot where the barn fully died, which was in the void. We get to see some fun Easter eggs like the spinny chicken thing that they put on barns. There's also stuff like the sign from the bar that Lexi was in. Nathan sees a glowing crystal on the ground, and then some crazy sci-fi stuff happens. I don't love it, I'll be honest. It's just very odd. I mean, we have made it this far as well. We're this deep into it. The barn guys actually turn into a bunch of the little trouble goo balls, and they fly away. I've got a decent tolerance, but I think this is just one step too far. So this weird white-haired Crystal Audrey, she's appeared out of the controller. Does she need to go on the tree? I don't think she actually counts, and I kind of hate it. Sexy teacher Audrey from season 4 probably had a better shot of making it on this tree than weird white-haired Crystal Audrey. Sexy teacher Audrey, who is not on the board, but maybe could have been. And no, I'm not even going to talk about the wig. I'm not going to give it the time of day. Vince, Dave, and Dwight show up to a guy's cabin who has the same reincarnation trouble that we used to separate Audrey out of Mara. Anyone remember that? Regardless, they want to use this trouble to split Croatoan out of Dave, the same way that Mara was separated from Audrey. Before we can get into that though, Dave gets possessed by Croatoan again and then kills the guy that has the reincarnation trouble. Dave regains control of his body and doesn't know what happened. At the Colton house, Duke is still trying to talk down Lisa to get her to not blow the house up and kill them both. Audrey overhears this encounter and walks in and tries to help talk down Lisa. Audrey projects her own feelings towards Duke right now into the conversation as she's trying to intervene. It's all very nice and it diffuses the tension between Audrey and Duke. Good old trouble-solving Audrey is back and here to project her own issues onto troubled people. It's how she rolls, okay? She's got a great success rate. And now Crystal Audrey's back. William and Nathan ask for the crystal and she gets all robot-y and weird and says that she has to test them to see if they're like worthy of the crystal. The test is a question: why was the barn created? William says the barn was created to torture Mara, and then Crystal Audrey gets the shits at that, so Nathan steps in and explains that the barn was created to save Mara, or to rehabilitate her into a good person again, but it didn't work, so then Charlotte killed her. Crystal Audrey is happy with this answer, so she gives Nathan the crystal. William is now unhappy because he's noticed that Nathan used past tense when referring to Mara. That was a whoopsie. Nathan tries to play it cool, but William attacks him and then it starts a little chase in the void woods, which is exciting. At the Colton's house again, Audrey gets Haley to show Lisa that she's opening up the door to the void so that we can save Haven. So what Audrey's doing is proving to Lisa that Duke came back to save the town. Duke brought Haley back and now Haley's helping save the town. So she's redeeming Duke in Lisa's eyes. Audrey explains to Lisa that once Nathan comes back through the void, they'll be able to make a barn and cure everyone and she won't explode people anymore. So Lisa's pretty thrilled about that. We do see that Haley overhears the whole no one will have a trouble anymore thing, and she seems to have a bit of a reaction to that, but we'll get back to it. Audrey continues to vouch for Duke's character, just like she did in season 3. Audrey comes to a catharsis and deals with all of her feelings towards Duke leaving and the anger and disappointment, and they're on good terms again. Nathan has made it back to the cave in the void, and he's waiting for the portal, but Haley's kind of making it flicker a little bit. William attacks him again and stops him from going through the thingy. We're not on good terms with Haley now, because she stops keeping the portal open for Nathan. Audrey is confused because she's like, what are you doing? Nathan has to get out. You need to keep the portal open for him. Haley makes it super clear that she does not want the troubles to go away and she doesn't want to lose her powers. Audrey does try to talk some sense into Haley, but it does not work. She's not listening to anyone right now. Nathan is currently getting choked out by William in the cave in the void until he hits him with a rock and knocks him out. Haley now just leaves the scene. She heads out and the portal fully closes. Inside of the void, some kind of a rock slide happens and William and Nathan get trapped in the cave. Back with Dwight, Vince and Dave. Dave has been chained to a chair and our current plan is to get Dave to confront Croatoan in his mind. We're hoping that by confronting him in this way, we'll be able to figure out a way to kill him. We're going to be attempting this method via hypnosis, by the way. Nathan and William wake up inside of the cave. William is stuck underneath a very large rock. Even more upsetting, Nathan's path to the portal has also been blocked by a big boulder. But once again, the portal is not currently there because Hayley is not doing that anymore. But if it was there, he couldn't get to it anyway. Crazy stuff going on for literally everyone right now. We are back for episode 22, A Matter of Time. This one gives us a lot of payoff for some stuff that was set up pretty early in the season. So here we go. Nathan is putting in the work to try and move this boulder over because he thinks that the portal is still going to reappear because he doesn't know that Hayley has bailed. This is not going especially well for him because of the whole being a human in the void and that not really being compatible with life. William, who has a new tree pick, taunts Nathan about his humanness. The two of them fight a little bit just verbally this time. Nathan closes out the argument by dropping the bomb that Mara is in fact dead. William seems genuinely upset about this. Duke and Audrey are trying to find the runaway Hayley. Duke alludes once again to how dangerous her trouble is, the history of the trouble, and how he fears that she's going to get herself hurt by using it. All the red flags we've seen with Hayley being reckless with her trouble, and right on cue we find her in a precarious position. Duke and Audrey rush over to her, and we see that she was in the middle of phasing through a fence, much like she did earlier in the season when she was still figuring out her trouble. This time though, she has phased back too quickly and is now in the fence. She's impaled by multiple fence posts. Just wow is how I feel about the level of payoff from Duke's line earlier in the season.
You're gonna end up as part of the gate. I'm gonna be picking you out of it.
These final episodes are all about tying beautiful bows on storylines. It's so good. Vince, Dave and Dwight have brought back in the hypnotist that we might remember, so they're going to use her and the power of hypnotism to get Dave to confront Croatoan inside of his mind. Cutting back to Duke and Audrey, Hayley explains that she accidentally rematerialized too soon, but she feels like it's okay because none of the fence posts are impaling any vital organs. Hayley just wants Duke and Audrey to get her out of the fence, and she thinks she'll be fine. Audrey tells her that this is unfortunately not how that's gonna go down.
Rods that are running through you, they're keeping you from bleeding out.
Hayley's just in limbo. She's on the fence of death, if you will. She's also very much in denial about the fact that that's happening, and she's very scared and looks very young and vulnerable in this scene, and it's really kind of a lot to deal with. Because of the performance in this scene and this whole kind of sequence with Hayley, it really makes this absolutely bizarre ordeal have some real weight. It's physically upsetting to see her have to go through this. In this episode, Hayley finally feels like a real and authentic, naive girl. She's convinced herself that she can be entirely independent and survive on her own, and this is where it's gotten her. Audrey pulls Duke away to have a private conversation away from Hayley and the fence. Audrey has no time to really be all that empathetic right now. Audrey is very straight up and blunt about the fact that Hayley is going to die. No matter what we do, she's not making it through this. So Audrey's focus is now on what we can do in terms of getting Nathan back out of the void. Audrey wants Hayley to reopen the portal so that Nathan can come back through with the controller before she dies, and then we can no longer use her trouble to get him out. Duke says that he'll try and convince Hayley to open up a portal in her dying moments while she's still stuck in the fence so that we can get Nathan back out of the void. He's not super hopeful about the level of enthusiasm that Hayley's gonna have for helping out our team right now. Back with Vince, Dave, Dwight and the hypnotist lady, Dave goes into his mind to prepare to confront Croatoan, and his mind is the Haven Herald surrounded by the Syfy Valley. If we just want to really quickly accept that that's what it looks like inside of Dave's mind. Stepping back outside of Dave's mind, we're back in the cabin and we see that the hypnotist lady is now dead, and Dave, who was previously chained to the chair because of how he's just murdering people all the time because Croatoan's possessing him, he's now unchained from the chair. Dave's been possessed during the time that we just saw him in his little mind herald moment. Vince and Dwight are also confused. Surprise, they've lost more time. This guy loves screwing with people's memories and just making time disappear, and it's really helpful for me trying to explain plot. I really appreciate it. Thank you, Croatoan. Back in the void cave with William and Nathan. Once again, William seems authentically upset about the death of Mara. So am I, controversially. And I'm kind of obsessed with her. Just a heads up. Nathan's continuing to get really sick because he's a human in the void. Then we get a shot of the cave wall and there's some aether in liquid form leaking out of a hole into the cave, and William seems very happy about this. Back at the fence and all the fun things going on there. Hayley is dying, but at least she's not really in all that much pain anymore. She's kind of chilling out and just slowly succumbing to the injuries. It's not a fun one. Hayley's very upset. She feels betrayed by everyone and everything and by herself, and it's all super complex, and I really like that we've ended up here with her. It's unfortunate that she's dying, but this whole situation with the Hayley and Duke arc and ending up here, big fan of it. She tells Duke that she doesn't want to die. Jeez, this is rough. Got bad news for you, Hayley. Duke does not tell Hayley that it's going to be okay. Instead, he tells her that she can make her death count for something. She can let Nathan back through the portal, and we can save Haven with the controller crystal. Hayley is not down to help, as suspected. She tells Duke that the whole reason she's in any of this mess is because of him, and it's all his fault. Because he doesn't have enough guilt about stuff, so we need to pile this on there too. Duke tries to tell her about their destinies and saving Haven, and Hayley has a situationally appropriate response.
You can shove your destiny up your ass.
She's not having a bar of it. Back at the cabin again, Dave is doing some weird stuff in his mind to try and track down Croatoan. Kind of really odd, but we have to stick with it. Croatoan starts to appear inside of Dave's mind in various forms. He starts communicating directly with Dave via typewriter, which is interesting. Outside of Dave's mind, Vince and Dwight are continuing to lose little bouts of time. Strange times at the cabin. It's giving Nathan and Mara in early season 5. Just how bizarre that was. But this, I think, is probably upstaging that just a touch. William tells Nathan to get the aether to him so that he can free them both from the heavy boulders. The boulders inconveniencing both of them, respectively. Duke tells Audrey that Hayley's not down to help. She's not going to open portals for people that she's currently blaming for the fact that she's inside of a fence and dying. Audrey decides to give us some throwbacks to season 3's episode The Farmer and season 4's episode When the Bow Breaks by just asking Duke to kill Hayley and absorb her facing trouble. This would of course mean Duke can use Hayley's trouble that he has freshly absorbed in order to open up the portal to the void and let Nathan back through. This does mean that we get more absolutely fantastic Audrey Duke tension. Duke reminds us that he didn't love either of those instances where he was asked to murder people to take their troubles. Duke also fills Audrey in on the fact that Crockers were created to collect troubles. Croatoan made the Crocker curse so that he could collect all the troubles. This is of course another reason why he doesn't want to collect another one, because it seems like that's what Croatoan would want. Currently, Audrey is only slightly alarmed by this because it's not high on the priority list just yet. Duke flat out says no to murdering Hayley, even though she's going to die anyway. He doesn't want to be a part of doing that anymore. Fair enough. Duke believes that she will come around to helping them before she finally dies. We might be experiencing a little bit of Duke denial Crocker right now. Back in the Void Cave, Nathan says no to getting troubled again and handing William the aether. Nathan then tells William that Mara didn't actually care about him and she only wanted to know where the aether stash was, which is a bit rude of him and possibly unnecessary. Back in Dave's mind, Croatoan and him are still having a bit of a chat. We discover that Dave being drawn to thinnies was actually Croatoan pulling him in. So that's a cool explanation for that. Croatoan says that he gained full control of Dave when they opened the door to send William into the void. So again, the season 4 finale has screwed everything up for the whole rest of season 5. Ever since they did that at the end of season 4, we've been screwed. Once again, Vince and Dwight find themselves in strange positions after losing all of the time repeatedly. This time though, Dwight left himself a voice message, which is clever of him. Good job, Dwight. They figure out from this message that Croatoan is trying to get the two of them to kill Dave. If Dave dies, that means that Croatoan can leave his body and escape into Haven in his own physical form and not have to be stuck possessing someone else. Dave is able to briefly communicate with Vince and Dwight. He explains to them that he has the capability to destroy Croatoan's ability to screw up time. If Dave goes back into his mind in the Herald and destroys a wall of clocks, this will take away Croatoan's ability to do all of the weird lost time memory stuff. Dave wants to take away Croatoan's ability to mess with people's time and memory. Back at the fence again, because that's so uplifting. Duke and Hayley discuss fate and destiny. Really beautifully written stuff, and it makes me sad, but also it's one of my favourite scenes in this episode, and I'm just upset by the whole thing going on with Duke, and that's gonna just get worse. so much worse. We hear the two of them discuss Hayley's mum and how she died pretty much exactly the same way, half phased through a fence. Hayley cracks a sad joke as she very clearly begins to shut down. She makes one more heartbreaking statement about fate.
You can't escape your destiny, can you?
Then Duke halts her for a second, apologizes for getting her into this mess, and he tells her that he's gonna get her out of it.
I got you into this, and I have to get you out.
This whole payoff for the Hayley thing, I can't rave about it enough. Let's keep going. Duke touches some of Hayley's troubled blood, activates his own trouble collecting ability, and then snaps her neck. So dark and it's so heavy and I love it. Instead of silver eyes, Duke once again has black eyes as he absorbs Hayley's trouble. Duke begins to walk away from Hayley's corpse, which yes is still just chilling in the fence. Duke tells Audrey that his fate is inescapable and that this was always going to happen. He seems to be coming to terms with the fact that his destiny is here in Haven and there's nothing he can do about it. He feels like he's just got to embrace it now and he can't fight it anymore. All of Duke's lines about fate and destiny are just so perfect. I especially love that we've gotten to this point with Duke and him accepting the fact that his destiny is in Haven through a conversation with Audrey, who has had such a big role to play in terms of getting him to this point and all these stepping stones of him becoming who he is and having these dark moments, and it's just really all poetic and great, and I'm a real mix of loving it and hating it at the same time because it's such good stuff happening. Not good for my emotions, but good for the story. Cave time again, and Nathan seems like he is going to give William the Aether now. He's really starting to struggle and seem to not be able to breathe in the void air. Nathan drops the Aether into William's hand and the texture is interesting. Got feelings about it that aren't relevant. William does not use this Aether to give Nathan a new trouble like he said he would. Instead, he uses it to bring back the big barn guy. William's feeling a little bit cheeky and probably upset about all the hurtful things that Nathan said about him and Mara. Big barn guy frees William from the boulder that was trapping him. Then he goes over to Nathan to start attempting to kill him. Nathan tries to get out of this by once again telling William how little Mara actually cared about him, which Nathan, that was kind of what upset William in the first place, so if we could chill with that. But no, instead Nathan tells William about the Mara Duke sex shack. Nathan's pretty hilariously smug about the fact that Mara was more into Duke than it seemed she was ever into William. The void air has turned Nathan into an absolute savage, and I love him. Duke is now using his newly acquired Colton family trouble of phasing through things to begin to open up the portal to the void. Duke's making a thinny. Back in the void, the big barn guy moves the boulder blocking the portal, so that is now freed up for anyone to go through. William surprisingly steps aside and allows Nathan to step through. William makes some confessions about his relationship with Mara and how he kind of always knew that he loved her more than she loved him, and this is kind of a really fun moment that we get for William for the last time seeing him. What a nice send-off for his character. Nathan decides to give William his ring so that he can get back to their original world and be freed from the void. William warns Nathan to not bother going back into Haven because Croatoan is just going to kill everyone and it's a lost cause. Our guy Nathan obviously heads back through the thinny and into Haven. Thanks William, safe trip home. Nathan re-enters Haven through Duke's thinny. Duke updates Nathan on the Hayley death with a single look. At the cabin again, things are going to get really crazy. Vince and Dave are arguing over the fact that Dave wants to sacrifice himself by fighting Croatoan inside of his mind. Dave once again wants to take away Croatoan's ability to steal time and mess with everyone's memory. Dave wants to give everyone in Haven a fighting chance because eventually Croatoan is going to exit his body anyway, so Dave feels like by taking away that one crazy ability of his, it'll give everyone else the chance to defeat him. Vince tells Dave to keep fighting for as long as he can and to not let Croatoan kill him. These brothers are such a roller coaster. Dave goes back inside of his mind and stands up to Croatoan. It's such iconic behavior from Dave and a very well earned outburst against Croatoan, who has made him do historically horrible things. This is an incredible last stand for an absolutely iconic character and a huge piece of Haven. Dave successfully destroys Croatoan's ability to mess with time, and by doing so, Dave is killed by Croatoan. Yes, Dave Teagues is officially dead and not coming back. This is made even more devastating upon rewatches now because of the loss of John Dunsworth. RIP to Dave, and more importantly, RIP to John. Thanks so much for being an always interesting and engaging part of this crazy little sci-fi show. Unfortunately, we do have to keep going with recapping the rest of this episode. Nathan shows us that he has successfully brought back the crystal from the void. We are initially excited by this until we realize that we have no idea what to do with it, what it does, how to get it to work, and make the new barn. Our trio discuss how how this seems to be always how things go for them. They get very sweet and very wholesome about the three of them all finally being back together again.
The three of us, we're back.
I just love it so much. It's our trio. Back with dead Dave, because we have to keep addressing it. Vince and Dwight are mourning him when Croatoan escapes Dave's body and enters the town in a cloud of mist. We close out the episode by seeing that Dave was able to get a message to everyone before he died. Dave has given us the warning that Croatoan is headed directly for Audrey. Thank you for the heads up, Dave, and we will miss you. Oh no, look, everyone got sad again. I wonder how that happened. Episode 23 is Blind Spot, and it's our last kind of fun, cool concept in terms of how the episode is constructed, and from here on out, everything's pretty devastating. This one's still a rough one. Stylistically, it's very cool and fun, but things are still very high stakes, very dramatic, very devastating. We open up with everyone at the Haven police station! One of my favourite places to be, but that might change. We might get some trauma here. Anyway, everyone is gearing up to face Croatoan. It's all hands on deck. Speaking of deck, we haven't seen Duke's boat in a really long time. And that makes me sad. R.I.P. Cape Rouge. Half the town, it seems, is at the station and all ready to help fight Croatoan. Here's my obligatory stand shout out. Fantastic work as always. So as we know, thanks to Dave's last heroic moments, Croatoan is headed for Audrey specifically. Speaking of our girl, she's currently struggling to make the controller crystal and the Aether core do anything. We have the parts for the new barn, but we don't know how to use them. Nathan's back and feeling the optimism again.
Happy thoughts today.
Meanwhile, Laverne is roasting everyone over the radios at the station. Once again, Laverne is just a disembodied voice coming from Nathan's radio. Duke shows up to the town's stronghold to help out. He and Nathan discuss how difficult it's going to be to protect Audrey from Croatoan, mostly because they have no idea what form Croatoan is going to appear in. Could be anyone, anything, he could be smoke, we don't know. We just know that it's no longer going to be Dave, because Dave's dead. Nathan makes mention of the current task in the station, which is getting all the security cameras up and running so that they can see Croatoan coming. We're setting up security cameras all around the station. We anecdotally hear that the gull has been destroyed by some kind of a sea creature. This is both sad and hilarious news, and I wish we had an episode about it. We swiftly move into a really beautiful conversation between the two of them. They talk about growing up with the Troubles and how they had no idea what was coming for them in terms of where they've ended up today. They even make note of how connected their fathers were. They've got connected daddy issues, essentially. Haven and the Troubles have always been a pivotal part of their lives, but it's been a progression in terms of how aware they've become and how active of a role they've been playing. Duke says he wishes he had a bit of a heads up that this was the fate that he had coming for him, before of course turning this into a very fun comedic moment between the two of them.
I would have spent a lot less time in school.
Not have possibly spent less time in school.
That's true.
I'll say it again, I wish we could have seen more of young Duke and Nathan together. The two of them continue to access their emotional vulnerability and discuss their fates. This leads us to the beautiful revelation that Duke helped Nathan catch a criminal, which finally made Nathan feel respected and treated like a real cop by his dad. Duke's decision to help out Nathan prevented him from quitting being a cop. This bromance is absolutely top tier. We close out this scene with another overt reference to fate and destiny.
We make our own future, Duke. I hope you're right, Nathan.
God, I love these two men. Again, I'm very happy that the final episodes of this season are taking the time to give us these moments. We're getting scenes between characters and relationships that enrich the story, as well as just feel really rewarding for the viewers who care about them as well. Elsewhere in the station, Vince has a bit of an emotional breakdown spurred on by the fact that his brother has just died. Fair enough. More chaos is also erupting in the station. The cop from episode 14 that had the trouble that could freeze everyone around him, he's back now and he's helping to secure the station. I might call him Freeze Frame Guy. Our trio and Freeze Frame Guy discover a dead body in a cupboard. This dead guy apparently had a trouble that could disintegrate stuff, and that's a little piece of info that you're gonna have to hang on to. We all discuss how we would have known who killed this guy if the cameras were already up and running, but they're not. Then we cut to a CCTV feed footage from the corner of the room. So now it seems like maybe the cameras are running in some kind of a capacity. We continue to cut back and forth between camera feed and regular frames. It's so cool and it's it's so fun, and I feel like it's even better than the season 4 handheld footage that we got with the ghost hunting. This is so awesome to have it be static. The concept for this episode is fantastic, and the fact that we still put in so much relevant, insane plot whilst having a cool gimmick going on, obsessed. A chair chases Audrey into a room, and then the room locks her inside. Audrey goes to shoot the lockout, but then a light drops down from the ceiling and knocks the gun out of her hand. Nathan's now panicking because it seems like the building is attacking Audrey for some reason. He tells Duke to use Hayley's phasing trouble to get into the room and get Audrey out. Duke very importantly mentions that he can only use a trouble that he has absorbed or collected once. He killed Hayley and used her trouble to open up the thingy to get Nathan back through. Already used her trouble once, can't use it again. This is what Duke tells us. Audrey notices the red recording light on the security camera in the corner of the room, and then she asks Nathan if they've already got the security cameras up and running, which no, they are not up and running. Clearly we've got something trouble-y going on with the security cameras. Audrey asks Duke if maybe this is a trouble that's leaked out of him, which is something fun that we have to keep accusing Duke of. Duke tells us that one of the troubled people that Wade killed in season 4 was related to the haunted house guy from season 3. Long story short, yes, this is a trouble that has leaked out of Duke, and now someone is possessing the station and sort of merged into the police station and can now control various aspects of it. One of these aspects being now the security cameras and all of that footage. Both very nice callbacks, including the Wade serial killing all the troubled people, and then also the haunted house episode from season 3. We managed to communicate with the troubled person who has possessed the station. The station is now able to tell us that it's Laverne. Laverne has possessed the police station. Duke lovingly calls her the radio lady. We deduce that whoever killed the guy in the closet is probably Croatoan, and therefore Croatoan is inside the building with us. Hence why Laverne has locked Audrey in the room to protect her from any incoming Croatoan activity. Who would have thought that the word Croatoan would join the list of terms that are dangerous to use for a Haven drinking game? Laverne shows us that she has complete access to all the cameras and can see any danger coming. So now we have Laverne looking out for Audrey from all angles while she continues to work on getting the controller crystal and the Aether core to do something and make a new barn. Speaking of, whilst Audrey is holding both of the sci-fi objects, the crystal starts to glow and then Howard shows up. Howard, who Nathan famously shot to shit in the end of season 3. He's back somehow, and he's come out of a crystal. And again, we are seeing pretty much all of this through Laverne's eyes, so it looks like we're seeing it from security camera footage. And it's just so chaotic, and I'm having a good time. I'm having a good time. Howard asks Audrey why they've summoned him. Then he tells them that he is the crystal personified, which is a bit tough to take, but Howard is the personified crystal. Breathe it through, and we're moving on. Howard is also a little bit salty about Nathan shooting him a bunch. He says he can't give the authorization to make the new barn as its controller because he needs that order from Mara and not from Audrey Parker, who is just an overlay personality. He says that, and then he disappears. Audrey did not get a chance to tell him that she's no longer an overlay because Charlotte killed Mara. Audrey is the new OG. Then we get a blackout. Croatoan has seemingly taken out the power grid in the station, but our girl Laverne says that she can still see everything through her camera eyes. Duke is heading down to the power grid, power board, electricity stuff with the freeze frame cop guy to try and get everything back up and running. Elsewhere, Audrey are teaching Laverne to use her trouble to control more of the station. So she's like honing her Haven police station controlling abilities. Somehow Laverne is able to access Duke's phone, I guess because it's in the station. So Laverne shows Audrey the video feed from Duke's phone so we can see what he's up to. Something appears to attack Duke and freeze frame guy on their way to go fix the power. We find Duke's phone, but no Duke, concerningly. We also find a bunch of blood, so it's not looking good for Duke. Audrey summons Howard out of the crystal again. We fill Howard in on Croatoan and also the fact that Charlotte killed Mara, so Audrey is the new Mara. Howard is confused by this, but he does go with it eventually. Howard finally agrees to make the new barn for them, so they give him the Aether core and they tell him to just get it moving. Let's make a barn. Howard starts flickering for a bit. He lets us know that the Aether core has been sabotaged. As a result of this, the controller, being him, kind of, has been damaged and can no longer make the new barn. So very quickly, it looked like we were making the barn, and now we can't. It's a lot. It's going to continue to be a lot, but at least here it's delivered through the really fun framing device of the security cameras. The new barn cannot be created anymore because someone damaged the Aether core purposefully, and then that damaged Howard because he's the controller, Gyre when he tried to use the core to make the new barn. So both pieces are kaput. The important thing to note is that someone purposefully damaged the Aether core. We cannot make the new barn. Laverne interrupts to show us Duke on one of the cameras. This is a recording taken from earlier in the day, and he gets all shaky and weird and then turned into Croatoan smoke. Very scary and Croatoan-y for Duke. Later again, in another recording that Laverne is showing us, we see hard evidence of the fact that Duke killed the guy in the cupboard. Cherry on top is the fact that he used Haley's phasing trouble to do so. So that was a flat out lie, that he could only use them once after he'd taken them. He can use the troubles that he collects from people after he kills them as many times as he likes. Duke killed the guy, put him in the cupboard, and gained his acid disintegration touch trouble, and then he used that on the Aether core, damaging it. Therefore damaged the crystal, and now we have no hope of making a new barn. So Duke single-handedly ruined all of our plans. This whole time here in the station thus far, Croatoan has been gaining control over Duke. Poor Duke. Nathan quickly lists off a few of the troubles that Duke now has. This includes the freeze frame trouble, because he killed that guy down in the basement. I don't know if I clarified that, but he's dead and Duke killed him and therefore can now freeze frame things. Right on cue, Duke phases through the wall and enters the scene looking fairly evil. He drops some of his own blood onto the ground and then his eyes go black. Nathan and Laverne lock Audrey in the office to keep her away from the Croatoan energy. Duke uses his new freeze frame ability to freeze everyone in the station. Duke is now going all crazy and creepy, and it's a lot of fun. It's super unsettling and strange to see him behaving this way, and it's a really nice mix-up for the character. As devastating as it is that he's lost control of himself and is now hurting people, it's fun to see. Duke roasts Audrey a bit and then brings up the sex shack with Mara. We like to be reminded of that in these past couple episodes, which is fun. Then Duke pushes a guy over and he smashes into a bunch of pieces, therefore dying. Audrey pleads with Laverne to let her go out and face Duke. Laverne lets her out and Duke talks to Audrey. Duke starts telling Audrey that he's finally become what the Crockers were always meant to be. Trouble collectors for Croatoan. Audrey tries to remind Duke that he's always wanted to do nothing other than fight the Crocker fate. Duke really is quite evil now, so it's not really getting through to him. Audrey brings up Jennifer to see if that'll get through to him, but Duke is just gone, as evidenced by him shoving another guy into the ground and killing him. Finally, Duke uses his freeze frame trouble to freeze Audrey, who once again, this is a trouble that came out of Duke, so she's not immune, and then he hilariously scoops her up and takes her out of the station. And he just phases through the wall, just with dragging her with one arm. I don't know why I find it so funny. It's just a bizarre thing to be happening, and Duke seems to not really give a shit. So Duke is now taking Audrey directly to Croatoan. Everyone else in the station unfreezes to a missing Audrey and a couple of dead guys on the floor. Nathan is cranky, obviously, and wants to start working on finding Audrey ASAP. Vince and Gloria discuss how everything's gone to shit. Gloria's maternal energy towards Duke starts to come through again here. We saw that a lot last season. We cut to a nice little house in the middle of nowhere, and Audrey is just chilling. She wakes up to see Duke sitting there, who is still black-eyed and still very creepy. He's also got her gun. Audrey tells Duke that they can fix whatever Croatoan has done to him. He doesn't need to do this. He doesn't need to be evil. Duke is uninterested in being redeemed or fixed. He's come to a weird, scary peace with the fact that this is what he was made to do. He's embracing the fact that Crockers were created to collect troubles and give them to Croatoan. And right on cue, the man himself opens the door. I will quickly address the fact that they got William Shatner to play Croatoan, which is really, really cool in terms of the whole sci-fi sphere. I'm not a big Star Trek person. I did have to do my research to understand how significant this is for the show. To have a face and a name like William Shatner, who has left such a huge footprint on the sci-fi genre as a whole, to have him on the show playing such a huge character for the end of the series is very cool. Episode 24 is the Widening Gyre. We pick back up straight away with Audrey. She's dreaming about the end of the last episode because that was just a little bit traumatic for her. She wakes up from this dream and then immediately tries to escape. Croatoan hears Audrey and then makes yet another dramatic entrance, minus the fun hat this time, which I thought he wore a lot more than he actually does, but upon reviewing, he actually only wears it like a handful of times, if that, but it's important to me in my visual representation of Croatoan. He has to have the hat on. Croatoan already wants Audrey to start calling him Dad, and she's obviously not down, so he telekinetically closes the door behind him. Elsewhere in Haven, Duke has apparently been out murdering troubled people in order to collect the troubles to hand off to Croatoan. So he's really on the working for Croatoan train. Dwight and Nathan discuss their current plan, which is to gather a bunch of troubled people to use as bait so that Duke will show up, they can trap Duke, and find out where Croatoan and Audrey are. Duke suddenly and conveniently shows up wielding a knife. Duke starts to attack some people, including Nathan, but then people overpower him and everything gets subdued fairly quickly. There's a lot going on, there's a lot of plot to get through, so that confrontation happens just very quickly. Back with Audrey and Croatoan, Croatoan is trying to reminisce about what it was like to raise Mara, and Audrey is still very much not vibing with this very strange interaction. Audrey decides to taunt Croatoan about the fact that his actual daughter is dead, which is what we saw Nathan do just recently to William. And I just think that that's very Nordry of them to just stir the pot in this way. Croatoan, on the other hand, is completely unfazed by this and convinced that Audrey is his daughter. Kind of yes, she's your daughter, but also kind of no, because she was your daughter, and it's just... it is what it is, you know? Back with Vince and all of that crazy sci-fi stuff, Howard the Controller is discussing how if they manage to repair the Aether Core, then they will need a new controller for the barn anyway because he's been damaged. Basically, this scene just serves to clarify that Howard cannot be the new controller for the new barn.
And no longer serve as the barn's controller.
So someone else in town will have to be the new controller person for the new barn. And I'm sure we can see where this is going. At the station, Dwight and Nathan are holding Duke in the interrogation room. Nathan is prepping to go try and get some info out of him. Dwight is doubtful that Duke is salvageable at all and thinks that he's just fully evil Duke now, that good Duke is gone. Nathan has faith that the real Duke is still in there though. Dwight brings up early season 5 with Nathan trying to get Audrey out of Mara, and then Nathan counters that by saying, well, I was correct in that instance. So, not a very good example to use. Dwight is still being a pessimist about it though and has lost all faith in Duke ever being Duke again. We cut back to the house with Audrey and Croatoan, and he's still trying to be fatherly until Audrey reminds him that he killed her mum and also his wife. So he's not really giving family man. Also, here's a quick mention of how Charlotte foreshadowed earlier that she was into older men. I don't know if they knew that William Shatner was on board at the time of writing that episode, but it's fun in retrospect regardless. Croatoan claims that he did love Charlotte, but he couldn't let her destroy the troubles, so he had to murder his wife. Audrey pivots away from the Charlotte murder and then discusses how he murdered his own grandson and Audrey and Nathan's son, because yes, he possessed Dave and then killed his own grandson. Croatoan claims that he killed James because he loves her, and that was an act of love, to murder her child. Croatoan says that if he hadn't murdered James, then Lucy would have done it, and that would have gotten rid of the troubles forever, which would have been an issue for him. This guy is a big fan of the troubles. I feel like this doesn't work, though, because Nathan stopped Lucy from killing James, and as established previously with Haven time travel, that has always happened because of how the laws of time travel work. In Haven, that has always been the thing, because then Nathan's dad knew that he had gone back in time and all of that. So it was always going to happen that way. So I just don't understand why Croatoan thinks that she would have killed him anyway, because she wouldn't have, unless he didn't know that Nathan went back in time. And I'm spending too much time on this, I'm sorry. Croatoan believes that all of the evil shit and the murder and everything that he's done has been for the good of his daughter, and that's all we need to know. Croatoan leaves the room briefly, so Audrey snaps off a post out of the headboard to use as a weapon later. She sneaks that little weapon away because she's had enough. Nathan tries to tell Duke that he knows that good Duke is still in there, but evil Duke proves otherwise. Nathan is as stubborn as ever, and Dwight was completely correct. This is just early season 5. Again, Nathan is trying to get someone that he loves out of an evil version of themselves, and he has full faith that he can do so. Wish you had more to do, buddy, but we are just hitting replay on this again, I suppose. Duke taunts Nathan about the fact that Audrey is probably still into him, and then Nathan is the bigger person about it and starts to discuss the greater meaning of the Colorado incident. Nathan reminds Duke that he used to really care about Audrey, and so he shouldn't want Croatoan to be doing whatever he's doing. Evil Duke just continues to be Evil Duke. And unhelpful. He does make a comment about how Dave, before dying, knew every hidden corner of Haven, and now Croatoan would have that information. That's a weird thing that he said, but it gets us to where we need to get to later. Dave knew all the hidden corners of Haven. Vince is cranky about the fact that there's yet another wrinkle in that we need to make a new barn plan. It's been nothing but a hassle. Howard explains that he used to be a real person before he became the barn's controller. Howard further explains that he no longer has a personal connection to this new barn, and can therefore not be its new controller, because he doesn't doesn't have a personal connection to why they need to make the new barn. So now we know that we need someone who is personally invested in making this new barn to save Haven to be the new controller. Back at the station, Nathan tells Dwight about the clue that Evil Duke dropped about how Dave would know all the hidden corners of Haven. So Dwight's going to go chase down that lead and hopefully find Croatoan and Audrey, and Nathan's going to hang back and try and save Duke from Evil Duke. Croatoan continues to reminisce about how proud he is of Mara for making the Troubles. He's all about that. That's his favourite thing. The Troubles aren't Audrey's favourite thing, so she stabs Croatoan in the neck. Unfortunately, Croatoan is feeling fairly unbothered about the potentially fatal injury to his carotid artery. He's not super concerned. He is fairly cranky with Audrey though. Croatoan heals the wound on his neck in seconds and then grabs Audrey's arm and snaps it. Just breaks that thing. Hey, daughter of mine, here's a cheeky little compound fracture. You're welcome. What a crazy man. Then he runs his hand over Audrey's very broken arm and heals it instantly, so it's not broken anymore, despite it being literally bone out of flesh. Croatoan says that he used the Troubles to do so. So here is where we discover that the Troubles that Duke collects for Croatoan, he can use them in whatever manner he wants. He just kind of turns them into powers. Croatoan was able to survive so long in the void because he mastered Aether, and so he's like an Aether wizard now. Evil Duke is still being evil, so Nathan suggests to McHugh, who is still here by the way, that we should use an existing trouble that someone has in order to get good Duke out of Evil Duke. Pretty much exactly what we did with getting Audrey out of Mara in season 5. We're just kind of redoing all of those storylines for Nathan because he's got nothing else to do apparently. Dwight visits Vince to ask where Dave might hide a Croatoan and an Audrey if he was still alive. Vince instantly knows the spot that Dave would have used as a hideout, so Dwight goes over there to find Croatoan and Audrey. Vince also continues to be very sad about Dave because that's a dead brother that he's got now. He also finally spells out where the whole "we need a new controller for the barn" plotline has been going. Vince asks Howard if he can become the new barn's controller. Croatoan is now about to give us some Mara lore origin story stuff, so buckle up. Audrey leads us in by reminding us that Croatoan was initially banished to the void because he was experimenting with Aether. Croatoan claims that he had a really good reason to experiment with it. He tells Audrey that when Mara was young, she got really sick, like terminally ill sick. So, Croatoan took it upon himself to collect some Aether and experiment with it and try and save his daughter with Aether. This man put Aether into his daughter's immune system to try and cure her, which yes it did, but that's a wild thing to do. Mara's life was saved by having Aether put directly into her body, and not in the fun handprint trouble way, in like a medical intervention way, like biologically. It's a lot, I know. Now I've got some Aether questions that are prompted by this scene, by this exposition. It would make sense if Mara's immunity was because of the fact that she has Aether in her immune system. So it's like a vaccine, because it's been introduced so now she can't be affected by it. But Charlotte and William are also immune to the Troubles, so that doesn't mean you're immune if you have it in your immune system. But then this would mean that it's just an alien thing, and that they are immune to the Troubles, just as like an alien race. Except for the ones that Mara created and put into Duke as a bomb, the spicy Duke Troubles. They're not immune to them. I don't understand. I've got Aether questions. Audrey is appalled, but Croatoan is very proud of the fact that he brought his daughter back from the brink of death by using evil black goo. He's very happy with that decision. He's cray-cray, if you hadn't caught on. Nathan is still trying to get good Duke out of evil Duke, and it's tiring. Duke does seem to show himself, but then Evil Duke reappears pretty quick. Seriously, we already did this. This exact plotline has already been done episodes ago. Why is it happening again? I get that it's a bit of a remix, and we kind of see that in a minute here, but it does not need to drag out the way that it does. This entire episode, Nathan is doing exactly what he has done previously, across multiple episodes. I'm probably unreasonably upset about this. Audrey is now explaining her take on Croatoan trying to do a good thing by saving his daughter, but that turned him into an evil guy.
It changed you. It corrupted you.
Croatoan doesn't care that people think he's evil. He's not concerned. His number one thing is the fact that he turned Mara into what she became. And Audrey reminds him that Mara's dead, but he doesn't seem to care about names or identity. Croatoan is proud of his creation. He's so proud of the fact that he saved her with Aether because it turned her into something special. So this is now how Audrey realizes that it's not about him wanting a paternal relationship, but instead he needs something from her because she's got this special aether in the immune system sitch. Vince is trying to convince Howard to turn him into the new controller for the new barn, because everyone's got their destiny. And Vince wants to be a crystal. Back again at the exposition house with Audrey and Croatoan. He explains that introducing the aether into Mara's system allowed her to create a special bond with it, and now she can use it in ways that nobody else can. Croatoan wants Audrey to make Mara special brand troubles, because no one else can make those. Audrey asks, "What's your motivation? Let's hear the villain speech," and so here it comes. Croatoan wants to go back to their world with Audrey and prove how powerful they've become and how they've got all the aether mastering going on, and he wants them to reclaim their world together. Cherry on top of his evil villain plan is that he wants to tear open a hole to the void and flood Haven with aether, and then use the town as like a lab experiment and create troubles and curse everyone and just be a mad scientist. I'm not joking. That's his plan. This is sci-fi. Let's just roll with it. Back at the station, McHugh has brought the trouble sensors to Nathan, so now they can look through it and see if there's any troubles that we can use to get good Duke out of evil Duke. Suddenly, evil Duke seems to be able to see Nathan and McHugh through the two-way mirror, and then he thanks McHugh for bringing the trouble sensors to him. Duke breaks away and attacks the two of them and starts to steal the trouble sensors. Elsewhere, Croatoan explains to Audrey that Duke was playing them the whole time, and that he just wanted the trouble sensors so that he could have a list of what troubles he wants to collect for Croatoan. A list of everyone in town and what their troubles are is helpful for a trouble collector.
Not a good idea to have just like a census of them.
Duke is now threatening Nathan and just flexing his evilness, and it's very campy. Duke gives Nathan a very solid punch to the face, and I'm going to call that concussion worthy, so it's going to go on the counter. Duke taunts Nathan about all the times that we've needed him to kill troubled people in order to solve troubles, and now he's turned evil because of it. Audrey starts begging Croatoan to not let Duke kill Nathan, and she even calls him Dad to try and convince him. Nathan tells Duke to remember that this isn't him, and then Nathan seems to accept the fact that he's about to be beaten to death by his best friend. Duke has a switch up though, doesn't kill Nathan, and leaves with the trouble sensors. Nathan has not been murdered, so yay. Croatoan says, "Chill out, it's all good, he's not gonna die. I've got other plans." Croatoan tells Audrey that his plan is to make everyone in town that she cares about happy by using the troubles. Audrey instantly brings up Duke and how he probably isn't all that happy, and then Croatoan justifies turning him into an evil murder puppet, and we move on. Croatoan now lets Audrey leave the house and just says, "Go forth and see what I've done with the troubles," and it's very ominous and weird. Finally, he tells her that if she doesn't help him out with all of the evil plan stuff, then he's going to take away all these things that have made the people around her happy. Dwight finally arrives at the house where Croatoan and Audrey have been. "Where have you been, sir? It's taken you a very long time to get here." Once he gets inside, he does not find Audrey, but he does find his dead daughter Lizzie, looking not so dead. So Lizzie is back, possibly, and Dwight is confused but also excited, and this is going to be a lot for him. Closing out the episode, Nathan shows up to the Herald to look for Vince. Nathan quickly discovers that Vince is now the controller for the new barn. Nathan is perplexed by the crystal person aspect of it all, and we're right there with you, buddy. We really are. But then Vince drops this absolutely fire line to finish the episode.
Send Croatoan screaming back to hell.
The final two episodes. I said in the first part of this recap series, when I didn't even imagine that I'd make it to this point, that I rewatched the series in its entirety multiple times throughout the year, every year. That's a lie, so I'm sorry. I tend to skip the penultimate and final episodes now and forever. I don't usually rewatch them. I just kind of pretend that they don't happen. There's multiple reasons as to why I do that. In case there's anyone that's watching this video up to this point that hasn't seen the series, I won't say anything specific until we get to it, so I won't spoil it just yet. Things happen to characters and it makes me upset and I don't want to relive it. And then also the fact that if I don't complete the series on a rewatch, it feels like I can go back to the beginning sooner, if that makes sense. I know I'm not alone in terms of rewatching comfort shows and then not watching the last or couple of last episodes, but I can say that after rewatching these episodes to write this script, it was emotional, it was a lot, but I really don't think I'll ever skip these two episodes again. Watching them with a bit of a keener eye, I appreciate them so much. Can't imagine I'll ever skip them again. So let's get into it. Episode 25, the penultimate of this series, is titled Now. I'll quickly apologize for what's about to happen on so many different levels. I'm sorry, but we're going to go through it together. Audrey is back at the the police station, and it seems like her and Nathan might have been bunking there for the past few days. Audrey tells Nathan about Croatoan's plans to make everyone happy by using the Troubles, and how we're not really sure what that means yet. She also tells Nathan that it kind of seems like he's a father that genuinely misses his daughter, but as we know, he is really mostly invested in the fact that she can do things with Aether that no one else can. Audrey continue to discuss how desperate they are to repair the Aether core, because now we've got our new controller in Vince, but we can't do anything without a repaired Aether core. If we don't make the new barn ASAP, Duke's gonna keep going around killing people, getting troubles for Croatoan, and Croatoan's gonna do crazy shit like tear open holes to the void and flood the town with Aether. So we should get the new barn going as quickly as we can. We cut to a guy running across the docks before he runs directly into Duke. Evil Duke mentions that this guy is Vanessa's nephew. If you don't remember Vanessa, once again, she is the character from season 1. She had a death premonition trouble. She touched Duke and saw that he was going to die at the hands of someone with a guard tattoo, and she also said that she saw the same fate for the Colorado kid. I've been on this rant before. Surely if we're going to keep bringing up the death premonitions, someone is going to address the discrepancy with the lack of guard tattoo for the Colorado kid's death. Have I missed a line? Please let me know. I can't let it go. This reminder about the death premonition is mostly for Duke's sake and for things that are going to happen that we're not talking about yet. Duke tells Vanessa's nephew that he needs to kill him to collect his trouble for Croatoan. Duke stabs Vanessa's nephew and he sees once again the same death premonition that Vanessa saw in season 1. Evil Duke says he's not the same man he was back then, so this is not his fate. Vanessa's nephew dies, and then we cut to Nathan and Dwight on the phone. Nathan and Dwight discuss how Vince isn't really having a lot of luck repairing the Aether core. Nathan checks in on how Vince is doing since becoming a crystal person. They hang up, and then Vince confronts Dwight about how he hasn't told Nathan about the whole dead Lizzie situation. I've done her font black because I'm not sure at this point how to define her level of aliveness. She's famously Dwight's dead daughter. Dwight says that he just wants to focus on figuring out what she is because he's convinced that she's not actually Lizzie. Evil Duke is creepily watching them from outside. Elsewhere, we are once again using the ice cream truck as a morgue, and I thought that maybe the morgue would be up and running now. And if it is, and we're still using the ice cream truck, that just feels disrespectful at this point. Gloria examines Vanessa's nephew, sees that he was stabbed a bunch, and then we conclude that it was Evil Duke. Also, everyone is rugged up for the cold weather again, and Nathan is wearing a scarf. And I love him. Nordry come up with the idea to get Vicky to sketch the Aether core and then repair it that way. Her trouble is that she can sketch something and then manipulate that thing in real life. Before we can get too excited about that plan, Croatoan appears. Nathan instantly tries to shoot him several times. Croatoan unfortunately cannot be shot because there's a force field thing happening in front of him that he's doing, so he continues to just confidently walk towards Nathan and then introduce himself like a polite father-in-law.
I like you already.
And it's really bizarre, and I kind of enjoy it a lot. Croatoan now gives us another villain speech. The troubles that he's got Evil Duke collecting for him are for his own personal use, and then the ones that he wants to create that wreak havoc on the world and he can show off to his alien world with Audrey, they're going to be the ones that Audrey has to create, because she's got the special Aether bond, because the Aether's in her immune system. Anyway, Croatoan is now trying to show Nathan that he can make him happy for good by using the troubles. Croatoan tells Nathan that he can live a happy, full life away from the troubles and also be with Audrey. Then, Croatoan shows us an Audrey copy who is just chilling outside in the cold, and she looks exactly like Audrey. He tells Nathan that this copy will still have all the same feelings for him, and the two of them can go outside of Haven and live blissfully unaware of everything that's going on in the town. Audrey is upset about this concept, understandably. Your dad is offering your boyfriend to live with a fake version of you and never see you again and just be in love with that fake version of you. Thanks, Dad. Croatoan tells Audrey that the two of them can do all their evil, troubley stuff, tear open holes to the void and that, and Nathan will be safe outside of Haven and not in danger, and he'll be with Audrey copy. Nathan is not down to live a life outside of the chaos with Audrey copy, despite the fact that Croatoan tells him that he would never be able to tell the difference, which is a big claim to make. Back with Dwight and creepy Evil Duke, Dwight confronts Duke about the whole Lizzie situation, what's going on with my dead daughter being back. Evil Duke tells him that yes, that is your daughter, for real, and she's alive again now, but Dwight's not convinced. Evil Duke cuts to the chase and tells Dwight that he needs the controller crystal. Dwight lies and says he doesn't have the controller crystal. He's like, I don't have that crystal, and Vince, who is now the Crystal Man, they're not inside the house right now with my fake dead daughter. Evil Duke tells Dwight to hand over the crystal or he'll take away the fake dead daughter. Poor Dwight. Dwight heads back inside, and Vince points out that it kind of seems like Dwight is now maybe coming around to the fact that this could actually be his for real child. Dwight now gets super sad.
Watching those bullets tear into her, it was like dying.
Colossally sad. Vince admits that he feels a little bit responsible for Lizzie's death because he was still the leader of the guard at the time that they killed her. He brings up how ironic it would be if Croatoan is the person that can right that wrong. At the station, Vicky is drawing the Aether Core in preparation to try and use her sketch trouble to fix it. Nathan shows up and Audrey pulls him aside. She brings up the Croatoan offer to live the life outside of Haven with Audrey copy. Nathan says there's no way he wants the perfect life with her if it's not actually her. Audrey reminds him that apparently he wouldn't know that it wasn't her, so it would be the perfect life. Audrey offers this life to him if he wants it, but obviously he says no. He's our ride or die man as always, and also that is so ride or die of Audrey to offer. She just wants him to be happy. Laverne now shows us that Duke is arriving to the station through the security cameras. We can assume that evil Duke is probably here to kill Vicky to stop her from repairing the Aether Core. Once Duke makes it into the station, everyone else disappears. Moving on to just a touch of wholesomeness, Dwight and his possibly fake dead daughter, possibly real alive daughter Lizzie, are playing the floor is lava. Dwight has been doing some small tests to see if there's any discernible difference between this fake dead daughter and his real dead daughter, and so far this Lizzie seems to be pretty spot on. At the station again, Laverne is successfully hiding our crew from evil Duke by creating a new wall in the station, so she's really coming around to being a haunted police station. Vicky finishes her Aether Core sketch just before Duke finds them. There's a quick struggle and Duke ends up with the sketch of the Aether Core. Evil Duke tears the sketch and then the Aether Core crumbles to pieces. So that's the Aether Core done. Again. Duke now goes to kill Vicky and take her trouble for Croatoan, but Audrey stand in his way. Audrey tells evil Duke that she's not going to let him kill Vicky, and he once again brings up the multiple times that she asked him to kill troubled people for her. Audrey does not deny this. Instead, she tells him that yes, she used him to solve troubles, and she didn't take enough consideration into what that would do to him. Evil Duke deflects and says that it's all worked out the way it was supposed to. Audrey apologizes to Duke for sending him towards his fate and towards the destiny that he was trying his whole life desperately to fight.
I sent you on that path. I am truly sorry.
Audrey admits that battling her own fate has been exhausting, but she's going to keep trying for the sake of her own identity. Audrey faces Duke directly and asks him who he is despite fate and destiny. Duke drops his knife and then delivers my favorite Duke Crocker line of all time.
I'm Duke Crocker, and I just want to go back to being a pirate.
Our pirate man is back. Croatoan seems to sense this change in Duke, given his ominous expression that he has back at the house. We have a quick intermission of Dwight and Lizzie being very wholesome. Then we go back to the station and we all get like a few seconds to be really happy that Duke is back. Audrey tells him that he's got to get out of town and away from Croatoan so that he can't be controlled by him anymore. Duke says no. Hate that plan, I'm just gonna go kill him. Duke's real mad about all the murder and horrible stuff that Croatoan has been making him do. Audrey says thank you Duke for wanting to help as always, but she's got concerns about the fact that Croatoan is gonna keep trying to get the troubles that Duke has taken. Right on cue, we see Croatoan pull a trouble out of Duke remotely somehow. It's the Aether Tear again, just like it was when Mara made him a trouble bomb, so I'm sure that that's not traumatic at all for him. I'm sure he's fine. Duke says the only way that they can stop Croatoan from getting the rest of the troubles out of him is if they kill him. Audrey are obviously not keen on this plan. None of us are, but Duke is desperate for Croatoan to not gain any more power from him. Duke is solid in his belief that if he dies, the troubles die with him and Croatoan can't collect them. He holds so much guilt for all of the bad stuff that's going on. Duke says that he wants Nathan to do it, and Nathan is not on board, super understandably. What a crazy thing to ask your best friend to do. Duke then explains, absolutely heartbreakingly, that he can't do this quick enough himself and guarantee that no troubles would leak out through his blood.
If I break open and bleed out all my troubles, then I died for nothing.
That's devastatingly bleak and awful to think about. Duke says that Croatoan has taken everything from him and he wants to take his destiny back. Duke now starts genuinely begging his friends to kill him, and I actually can't handle it. I can't do it. More troubles continue to be leached out of Duke and he starts desperately panicking. He cannot handle the thought of Croatoan gaining any more power from him. Duke doesn't want his destiny to be letting Croatoan win. Duke tells Nathan once again that there's no way that he can do this himself and guarantee that the troubles wouldn't leak out of his blood. It's so beyond horrific and tragic to think about. Why does this show do these devastating things? Why do they do it? Nathan seems to have a shift in him, and then he tells Duke that he knows there's no time and that everything's going to be okay. I don't want to do this. What if I just stopped? What if the video ended here? Would that be okay if we just stopped talking about the show? Another trouble is leached out of Duke by Croatoan, and then Nathan grabs Duke from behind and starts suffocating him in the middle of the police station. I'll talk about how I feel like the location is super significant for his character in just a minute. Let's just get through what's happening right now as quickly as we can. Audrey goes over to Duke and tells him that it's going to be alright and that they love him. Then Nathan Wuornos tears my heart and soul out of my chest by telling Duke that he's the bravest man he's ever met and that he always will be. And I love it, but I hate it. Nathan goes on to tell Duke that he owes him so much and that he'll spend the rest of his life trying to repay that debt. This scene goes on for a painfully long time, which is accurate, I suppose. It's not the quickest way to kill someone, but it just makes the scene so much more torturous. Sean Pierce's score is here to make everything hurt even more than it needs to. Finally, Duke looks down and sees Nathan's guard tattoo staring right back up at him. Duke suffocates and dies in Nathan's arms. That really did just happen. I did issue an apology, so you were kind of warned. While we're still super fresh on the trauma and the heartbreak of Duke actually dying, I'm just going to get some thoughts out. I can't help but have a lot of feelings about the significance of Duke dying in the police station specifically. Significant to me and my understanding of the show anyway. So we had a really quick line from Gloria this episode about how familiar Duke is with the police station, and she called him poor kid, which he's known to do.
Duke knows this place like the back of his hand. Poor kid.
We know that Duke spent so much of his young adulthood getting in trouble with the law. Duke did not grow up in the best socioeconomic standing. Duke was, at the very least, born into an environment that predisposed him to criminal culture and behaviour. He did speak to Mara last season about how he had to steal in order to get by. And sure, he had kind of embraced that lifestyle by the time that we met him in season 1, but that doesn't mean that he ever felt like law enforcement were on his side, and he did make that clear.
It's a shame you're a cop.
And why is that?
I don't usually socialize with cops.
The police station would have always felt like an oppressive space for him. No matter how much he was able to accept his identity and how he defined himself, it never would have been a comfortable space for him to be in. Duke being a smuggler and being involved in criminal activity is a result of that behaviour being normalised and probably encouraged during his youth. Top that all off with the fact that his best friend was always intrinsically linked to the law and the police station through his family and then also his own career and identity. It's very likely that the station served as a symbol of Duke's internalized inferiority based on all the factors in his environment growing up that were out of his control, just like his fate was. And of course, it's that friend that grew up on the other side of the tracks that he's made to feel powerless to in his final moments in a space that he was never made to feel powerful. All in all, it's just so fucking sad. To top it off again, the station is the first place where we saw all of our trio together in one scene, and now this is the last scene of them all together. Alive. I have to change our beloved Pirate Man's font to black. I don't want to do it, but I have to do it. And I think I'm going to take a second as well. I'm going to take a knee really quick and I'll be back. I'm fine. I'm really okay. I'm doing well. There's still 10 minutes left of this episode that I have to talk about. When we cut back to the station, we see everyone but Nathan standing around Duke's body. Nathan is instead sitting in the corner looking genuinely shell-shocked, and it's so upsetting. The group briefly discuss how Duke saved Croatoan from getting any more troubles, and they all did die with him. However, the Aether Core is still destroyed, so we're not actually any closer to making the new barn and getting rid of Croatoan and the troubles. Nathan is beyond speaking right now, and every time we cut to him, I want to sob. Audrey does look over at him, but she doesn't approach, which I appreciate, because that would not make sense for her to do that right now, to go over there and ask him if he's okay. Look at him. So instead, Dwight comes over to Audrey and offers her a bit of comfort. Gloria asks Dwight for help taking Duke's body to the truck until they can have time to bury him. She suggests that they should bury him at sea with Jennifer, because she thinks that he would really like that.
Burial at sea with Jennifer.
Oh, Nathan speaks for the first time in this scene, only to agree that Duke should in fact be laid to rest at sea.
Yeah, let's see.
And I'm still fine. I'm still okay. I'm not absolutely devastated. I'm fine. After he says this, he just robotically gets up and walks out of the station. I don't have words. I still cannot believe they did this, just by the way. It's so effective. I get it. It's incredible work. But Oh my god, I can't believe they did this. The foreshadowing all the way back in season 1 was diabolical.
When you die, it's gonna be because I killed you myself.
Something happens to me every time I talk about something that makes me emotional.
Oh, talking about this scene is making me physically ill.
I just start choking whenever I want to cry.
I'm not doing well.
Moving on to the other things that happen in this episode that don't involve the fact that Duke is now dead. We have to talk about everything else. Dwight visits Croatoan, who still wants the crystal. He says that he wants to use the crystal to make a home for him and Audrey to live in. And I don't know what that would entail, and I can't really care right now, I'm sorry. Interestingly, Croatoan does mention that he's aware that Dwight was sleeping with his wife. But to be fair, he ended up killing her, so there's not really much of a leg to stand on in terms of being territorial. Croatoan tells Dwight to bring him the crystal or he'll take Lizzie back. Dwight says, okay, I'll be back with the crystal. Just give me 2 secs, I'll go collect that for you. And I'll keep my fake dead daughter. And you can build a weird house for you and Audrey. And that's the Croatoan update. I'm a little bit checked out of that storyline right now. I've got other things happening to me emotionally. Speaking of, Audrey is at the station holding Duke's whistle. She's just holding it. And I want to curl up and cry about that, which is strange. Out of context, Audrey's holding a whistle and I feel like I need to have a breakdown about it. This is what this show has done to me. She's also looking at absolutely adorable pics of our trio. They look so young. They look like babies. Oh my god. They didn't have to do this and make it hurt this much, but they did. Laverne then shows us Nathan on the security cameras and he's heading out towards Croatoan, which is alarming. Croatoan tries to call Duke a coward and Nathan is not having it. Not this man's best friend. You will not speak ill.
He died a hero.
Then Croatoan knocks Nathan out because he's not having a horrible enough day. Also, let's add that to the counter. Nathan then disappears and reappears outside of Haven somewhere with Audrey Copy in the Bronco. Audrey then goes to Croatoan to ask where Nathan is. Croatoan plays the whole, oh, I'm sorry, he didn't tell you. He left with Audrey Copy to go be happy, but Audrey doesn't fall for it. She doesn't believe him. We then cut back to Nathan and we see him and Audrey Copy sitting at a cafe somewhere and they're looking very confused and very disoriented. Nathan asks the waitress if she even remembers seeing Nathan and Audrey Copy enter and she says she doesn't. So it is a bit weird. Audrey Copy really does seem a lot like Audrey. The two of them seem to let the weirdness go and kind of move on with their day. Back in Haven, Audrey still doesn't believe that Nathan would have left on his own. She knows that he's our ride or die man. Croatoan continues to gaslight her though, because he's an asshole. He's really just desperate for her to help him make troubles and do a bunch of evil stuff. They walk over to a window and they see that Croatoan has created a big aether cloud that's going to rain evil black goo onto the town. Croatoan tells Audrey that it's going to take a couple hours for the cloud to fill up with enough aether to rain down on the town. So she's got a little bit of time to go grieve Duke, grieve Nathan, have feelings, say goodbye, and then they're on to be mad scientists together. And that's the end of that episode. Nothing monumentous happened. Everything was fine. Let's just move on. Episode 26 of Season 5 and the Haven series finale is titled Forever. You know, months ago when I filmed a Season 1 recap, I don't think I could have ever conceptualized what it would be like to sit here and say that I'm about to talk about the series finale. I don't know, I guess it's just a weird moment thinking about filming that first video and then being here. And I'm just grateful that there's people watching. That is so cool. Thank you so much. And people that are commenting and liking, and the fact that I've got subscribers, yeah, I really could not have pictured that when I was filming the Season 1 recap, saying the words, here's the series finale. I'm just feeling very grateful, so thank you. Let's get into it. We open at the station with Audrey and Stan. Audrey takes a very sad look at the very familiar photo on the desk of her and Nathan. Nathan and Audrey Copy, who is now here on the tree, so that's another iteration of Audrey on Nathan's tree. So he's beating Duke now. That's crazy. So these two have no memory of how they got to where they are. The only thing they know is that they love each other. So it's just really weird. They have a lot of the same relationship memories that Audrey and Nathan have. Audrey Copy knows about all the iconic Audrey moments, it seems, and a lot of other intimate things as well. She's even got the rundown on pancakes. Real Audrey is looking real sad at the station. Vince shows her Dwight's fake dead daughter and explains that Dwight's going to hand over the crystal in exchange exchange for being able to keep Lizzie. So fake or not, Dwight's going to keep his daughter and hand over the crystal to Croatoan, which includes Vince because he's the crystal man. Audrey asks Vince to check his crystal programming to see if there's any other reason why Croatoan would want the crystal, because the whole I'm going to build Audrey and I a crystal house thing didn't feel very legit. Vince checks his crystal programming and discovers that they can still build a barn with just the crystal and they don't even need to worry about the aether core, but it's going to be very hard to do. However, the prospect of building the new barn and banishing all the troubles and Croatoan back to the void is now on the cards again, but Dwight is also going to hand the crystal over to Croatoan, so we have to stop that from happening so that we can use it to build the new barn and save the day. Then we get our beautiful intro for the very last time. If you haven't seen it in its entirety, go right now and watch it. Everything about the intro is so perfectly matched to the show. It transforms you instantly into the environment of Haven, it sets the tone for you, it brings up the mystery. I love this intro. We're back again with Nathan and Audrey Copy, who still have no idea where they came from or what's going on. Audrey Copy notices that Nathan is bleeding from his head, and we know that that's because Croatoan knocked him out last episode, but both of them don't know that, so they're concerned. Audrey Copy is very unsettled, but Nathan feels a calling towards the direction of Haven and wants to head that way. Audrey Copy instinctively does not want to head towards Haven, and Nathan is a bit suspicious. Back in Haven, real Audrey confronts Croatoan about bringing back Lizzie and taunting Dwight with the fake dead daughter of it all, because that is a low blow. She tells him that no matter what he's already done, there is still people in town willing to fight him. So then, something absolutely ridiculous happens. I'm a bit excited to talk about something that makes me smile instead of making me want to cry. So gear up for this. Some of the guard have set up roadblocks to stop Dwight from getting the crystal back to Croatoan. Audrey has obviously spread the word that Dwight is on his way to Croatoan with the crystal, and we can't let that happen. So the guard are actively trying to stop him. Dwight rolls up to this roadblock, and then all of the guards start shooting at him. Dwight, the bullet magnet, is being shot at repeatedly. These bullets are in fact being magnetized towards him and hitting him. Yes, he is wearing his vest as he always is, but this is so many bullets. It's so many bullets. And he's just taking them. He just keeps running. He's unstoppable. Only Dwight. He makes it through the woods, still being chased and shot at, and makes it to this tower that is apparently the Haven Armory, which we've never seen before, but it's very cool looking. Croatoan transports himself and Audrey into the Armory Tower. Croatoan then disappears all of the guard that had followed them there, so it's just the three of them in the Armory now. Croatoan says something about wearing a bulletproof vest making you invincible to bullets. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think that that's how that works. Dwight, Audrey and Croatoan are all in the Armory Tower together, and it looks like Dwight is about to hand over the crystal to Croatoan, until Vince appears behind him and Dwight throws him the crystal instead. The four of them are transported into a new barn interior. It's the same as season 3 with all the white walls and hallways. Also the same as season 3, troubles don't work inside the barn, so Croatoan's powers are not working. So Dwight was actually working with us the whole time. Does that mean that all of the guard weren't actually shooting at him? But it looks like they're actively firing bullets at this man. I don't know. It's the last episode. It's a funny little thing that happens. Audrey explains to us that all of the aether that is inside Croatoan that he's collected is what's currently powering this new barn. So instead of all the concentrated aether in the aether core, Croatoan is serving as the power source. Vince starts to flicker around, and then Croatoan explains that because he doesn't want to power the barn, he won't be powering it. The power source for the barn must be a willing participant. So the barn disappears and we're all back at the Armory Tower again. Croatoan thinks this is the perfect time for his aether cloud to start raining aether down onto the town. Audrey tells Croatoan that she'll go back to their homeworld with him and make all the fancy troubles he wants. She'll help him get revenge on the people that banished him to the void, but only if he'll take all of that aether and put it into her. Croatoan thinks this is a fantastic idea because it will help her to embrace all of her aether abilities, because she's got a special bond with it because he put it into her immune system to save her life as a child. We got that? Great. Dwight has been transported to the beach by Croatoan, and a beautiful and familiar voice greets him.
Rise and shine, Squatch.
Yup, it's Duke, and he winks at Dwight, and it's a lot for me. Last time we saw him, he was a corpse, and now he's serving all of this. So what is up with that, Duke? We can hear Duke's voice, but the apparition of him doesn't actually speak. So it's confusing, but we're going with it, and Dwight starts to follow Ghost Duke. Logically, he should not be on here, but I couldn't help myself. Ghost Duke's on the tree. The orange squiggle is because being a ghost isn't really being reincarnated like the rest of the orange reincarnations. I didn't know what else to do, and I needed him on the tree just for me, just for my soul. So that's Ghost Duke. And you're welcome. Back to Nathan and Audrey Copy. Nathan has taken them towards Haven despite Audrey Copy not wanting to head in that direction. She was hesitant, but Nathan is taking us towards Haven regardless. Audrey calls out Nathan for wanting to investigate this vague feeling in the direction of Haven, and then Nathan calls out Audrey Copy for not wanting to investigate further, which is very unlike the real Audrey because she's an investigator. Regardless, Nathan can't actually see the town in front of him because the shroud is hiding it from them, but he can still feel something there. Audrey Copy cannot feel anything there. I love that Nathan is so unbreakably linked to the town that he can feel it even through the shroud. Nathan can feel the town and remember pieces of it because the town is such a huge part of who he is. And I love that about him and his identity and how linked to Haven itself he is. Nathan tells Audrey Copy that despite not being able to see anything in front of him, he knows that something is there, so he can't leave. Audrey Copy then steps forward and grabs Nathan's hand. Suddenly the shroud appears in front of them and they can see that Haven is there. Audrey Copy tells Nathan that she is in there, and when Nathan asks Audrey Copy who she is, Audrey Copy says me. Now that's got to be a trip for poor Audrey Copy. Inside of Haven, real Audrey is condensing all the aether from the cloud, just like she did with her mum. Back outside the border again, Audrey Copy remembers that she's Audrey Copy. This Audrey Copy is now aware of the fact that she was created as a copy of someone else. She tells Nathan what's up about her being a copy, and Nathan says that he kind of knew that she wasn't the real Audrey, because of course he did. They talk a bit about how Nathan was drawn to the town because of real Audrey being there. This does take a bit of value away from what I said before about how Nathan is so linked to Haven he can't escape it. So I'm just going to say that both things are true. And I love Naudry together. Of course I do. We know this. She's with Nathan. They're my favourite. But I just want this moment to be about him as a character as well. It's the last episode. Let me have it. I believe that Nathan sensed the town itself and the history that he's a part of there as much as he sensed Audrey. Rant over. I'm sorry. Audrey Copy tells Nathan to go back into town and find real Audrey because she loves him so much that she wants him to be happy and be with real Audrey, which makes me very sad for Audrey Copy. She really was a damn near perfect copy of Audrey, with the self-sacrifice and all. Nathan steps through the cloud and we are treated to Naudry's and Haven's greatest hits as all of the memories flood back to him once he's back inside the town. Also, we have to be reminded of recent devastating events as well. I could have skipped that, personally. Sean Pierce's score kicks in once again. That man knows how to make some music that is guaranteed to make me cry.
I want to listen to that in my car and I want to cry.
Audrey Copy disappears, and I'm assuming that she just ceases to exist, but I can't get too hung up about how sad I feel for her. Poor Audrey Copy. We're not getting into it. I just feel bad for her. Dwight finds Nathan at the edge of town because Ghost Duke has led Dwight here. Dwight tells Nathan that Ghost Duke brought him there, but Nathan can't see Ghost Duke, so everyone's just confused. I love Ghost Duke's sass, which is another thing I didn't think I'd ever say, but there you go. Ghost Duke gets Dwight to tell Nathan to go find Audrey at the Armory Tower. Nathan's a bit confused, but he's like, okay, I guess I'll go there. This was a strange interaction. Ghost Duke tells Dwight that they've got other places to be. Nathan asks Dwight to tell Duke thanks. Very sweet, and I wish he could have seen him and told him himself. Back at the tower, Audrey is still working on her aether collection from the cloud. So many evil black goo balls. Too many evil black goo balls, if you ask me. Nathan shows up and Audrey stops aethering and runs straight over to him. Naudry now stand their ground against Croatoan. Croatoan then makes a spear out of aether and tries to shoot it at Audrey, but Nathan steps in front of her blocking it, and then the aether spear goes into him instead. Nathan collapses after being shot by the spear. Also, I'll count that as a knockout for Nathan because he is unconscious. Audrey is now having a full outburst at Croatoan and tells him to fix whatever he's done to Nathan because Nathan is her family. She calls out Croatoan's lies about ever caring about Audrey or Mara. She tells him it's always been about power and ego with him, or at least it has been for a very long time. He denies this and says he does care about her and he did care about Mara, but then Audrey says, well, would you jump in front of an aether spear for me? because that's what love is. Audrey has had an absolute enough. She's been through the ringer for this whole series, and especially these past couple episodes, so she goes to just straight up attack Croatoan. Croatoan freezes Audrey in place using the freeze frame cop trouble that Duke gave him. Then Croatoan does some weird glowing light stuff to Nathan. Then Croatoan unfreezes Audrey, and Nathan wakes up / gets resurrected. I think he might have been dead, so Nathan died a few times, and each time was just so much fun. I'm feeling a bit alarmed. I can't do dead Nathan again. Croatoan now admits that he would not in fact die for her the way that Nathan just did, but he will leave her alone in Haven if that's what she wants. Croatoan says that he'll power the new barn willingly and cure all of the troubles. He says he's got nothing else to live for, essentially. Perhaps he really did want some kind of a partnership with his daughter in which they could exert power over others. But now that she doesn't want it, he's like, okay, well, we won't do that, I guess. That's Croatoan. Ghost Duke now takes Dwight to his fake dead daughter. Ghost Duke tells Dwight that fake Lizzie won't disappear with the troubles if Dwight believes that she's real. Dwight has to believe that his fake dead daughter is not his fake dead daughter if he wants her to stick around after the troubles are cured. If Dwight believes she's real, she will be. And on that note, Ghost Duke pieces out. Not before Dwight calls him kind of a dick and then Ghost Duke flips him off and fades away. That was really kind of strange, but also good to see Duke again. And that was the perfect last action for Duke. Back at the tower with all of the plot and stuff that's still happening, the Aether Cloud has not stopped raining Aether onto the town because now the Void has decided that it wants to flood the entire world with Aether. So the potential evil black goo apocalypse has now moved on from this small little town in Maine and is going to spread across the entire world. So we better do something about that. Croatoan says once again that he'll power the barn to siphon all the Aether away. He also says that this will be his way to show Audrey that he really does care about her. By doing this and saving everyone, he'll be able to show her who he was before Aether corrupted him. So that's kind of a fun journey that the character's been on. It's a quick Croatoan catharsis, if you will. Vince appears now out of the crystal. I've just become acutely aware of that one specific sentence, that Vince has popped out of a crystal. It's just got me, I'm sorry. Vince is here to tell us that Croatoan powering the barn with the Aether inside of him won't be enough to cure all of the troubles. The new barn will need the power source that it always has needed. As discovered in the season 3 finale, the barn is somewhat powered by love, or as I like to rephrase it, it's powered by human experience and energy. But it's love. The barn needs love. Of course, Croatoan does not have that energy, but our girl Audrey does. She's got lots of it. Audrey is the final piece that the barn needs in order to cure the troubles forever. Audrey step outside to discuss. Vince has clarified to Audrey that if she steps inside this barn one more time, the tear to the void would close, so no more Aether would pour into the town. All of the Aether that is currently in Haven would be drawn back to the void. All of the troubles would be cured permanently with no more 27-year cycle. Audrey tells Nathan that she has to go. She has to go into the barn. She has to do this. She has to cure the troubles forever. She tells him that she's not going to come back. That's not how this is going to work this time. Nathan seems very subdued and just agrees. Audrey apologizes to Nathan for having to leave him. She tells him that she wanted them to have more time. Didn't we all? Nathan says that people always want more time, and it's got to be about feeling thankful for the time that they did get together. Then he says this.
We had an amazing time.
This hits so hard, especially the last episode ever. We did have an amazing time, Nathan. We really did. Nathan comes to a realization as to why he loves Audrey so much. He loves that she loves this town and everyone in it so much that she's willing to sacrifice herself to save it and everyone in it over and over again. Nathan tells Audrey that he never felt anything until he met her. I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine. If this doesn't make you appreciate how his trouble has been linked to their relationship and his identity and her immunity, I don't know what will. This is fantastic. Audrey, my favourite. Now Audrey asks Nathan to promise her one thing. She asks him to promise that he'll find someone to be happy with and that he'll move on with his life. So here's where we start cutting intermittently between the conversation with Audrey and Nathan and then the rest of the town and Nathan leaving the tower itself. The direction and framing of Nathan leaving the tower is so beautiful. Truly, this whole scene just needs to be watched in its entirety. That's just the truth. You have to see the whole thing as it is. Nathan tells Audrey that there is no possible way he could ever move on. I'm gonna cry now. I fear. I'm fine. Nathan says that he'll always think of Audrey, and that's what'll make him okay, because she'll be with him. We continue cutting back and forth, and we see inside the tower that Vince, Croatoan, and Audrey are finishing up creating this new barn. Once they do so, all of the aether and the troubles in town begin to be siphoned out. A little black ball of goo flying out of Nathan's chest makes me want to cry, and that is a legitimate sentence. I stand behind that. Audrey was and always will be his cure to numbness.
You'll be with me every time I feel something.
Troubles fly out of everyone in town as Nathan continues to deliver his beautiful monologue about how Audrey's memory will be in the lives of everyone in Haven. Because of her, everyone in the town can live without the fear and suffering that they never deserved in the first place. We do get a very brief shot of Marion and her trouble leaving her chest. Do we remember Marion with all the weather and stuff from the very first episode? She no longer does the weather stuff. We get beautiful sweeping shots of the town, and we even see the water people that have to migrate to the ocean. They can come back now because they don't have the goo in them anymore. And we get a Chris Brody shot. So his popularity trouble is now gone. That will be a rough adjustment. He seems pretty happy about it though. Haven begins to reappear on maps outside of town. Seth remembers Haven again. We do see over with Dwight that Lizzie starts to fade away, but then we cut elsewhere again. Nathan stands outside the tower watching Vince, Croatoan, and Audrey finish up the barn. Nathan sees it glow on the outside like he did in the season 3 finale. Then the tower collapses. Haven's infrastructure is just not solid at all. The barn is now completed, the aether cloud is gone, and Haven is troubleless. We finish the sequence on a beautiful close-up of my favourite man. I love him. Next we return to the station, but obviously some time has passed. Nathan is here and hearing from Stan about a very regular small-town crime that's occurred, and it makes Nathan very happy. Then Nathan gets a call from Dwight, who is out fishing with Lizzie. Dwight believed that Lizzie was real in the end, so she became real. Thanks for the assist on that, Ghost Duke. Appreciate ya. Dwight asks Nathan to join him, Lizzie, and McHugh on the fishing trip. Nathan says he's on his way. Nathan leaves Stan in charge, which I'm obsessed with. Stan tells us that it's been a month since the Armory Tower collapsed. He also tells us that people want to know why it collapsed and what happened there. So this means that it's been a whole month since the troubles have been cured forever, since Duke has been dead, and since Audrey has been gone. Nathan tells Stan he can just tell everyone else that it was a gas leak, which isn't necessary because everyone in Haven would know it was the troubles, but hey, in the spirit of gas leak fun. Everything Haven-y? Gas leak. Nathan goes to contact Laverne on his radio, but she shows up in the flesh. She's not haunting the police station anymore. Gloria gives Nathan some fun information before he can go fishing with Dwight and family. Gloria tells Nathan that the genetic markers in all troubled people that Charlotte discovered have now disappeared from troubled people's blood, meaning of course that Audrey did successfully cure the troubles forever. They're not coming back. There's no indication that they even ever existed. Nathan does seem pleased by this, but Gloria expresses her condolences because this of course means that there's no chance of Audrey coming back even in 27 years. Nathan says that it's okay and that he just misses her. God, I love him. Vicky then gives Nathan a sketch of Audrey, so that's a bit sweet. Gloria tells Nathan to keep Audrey alive by doing what she would do. Gloria also mentions that that's how she keeps Duke alive, because she loved Duke so much and I wanted to see more of their relationship. I really did.
Duke and I, we were a lot more alike than people knew.
Nathan says he's off to go do what Audrey would do, which is go fishing with his besties. We see the Bronco driving along the coast as he heads on his way. He pulls over when he sees a small maroon sedan broken down on the side of the road. Nathan knocks his signature car window knock, and then the car window is wound down to reveal Audrey, but she's got a really cute little brunette bob. Nathan calls her Parker, and there's a miscommunication, which is quite fun.
Actually, I didn't park her as much as I broke her.
She asks him for his help, but he's a bit stunned for a second. He has to just hold on and just breathe really quick. She then sees the gun on his hip and freaks out until he explains that he is a cop. He's so stunned and starstruck, just like when he saw Lucy and Sarah for the first time, that he can't even introduce himself properly.
You're a cop. I'm a Nathan.
I love him. She introduces herself. Hello, Paige. Paige then goes on to say that James is her son and he's in the backseat. Nathan cannot wipe the smile off of his face right now. Paige and James are absolutely adorable, and here they are on both trees. I'll explain my thought process behind the double squiggly lines between James to James. Baby James to James Cogan, I should say. The orange line is here in case he's a reincarnation of Colorado kid adult James Cogan, and now he's just been brought back again as a reincarnation as an actual child. That's a possibility for what's going on with Baby James. The other possibility in my mind is why we've got a green squiggly line as well. Baby James could have been conceived directly by Nathan and Audrey. It could be a direct Audrey child. James Jr. type situation, so that's why he's got the sibling line. I've covered my bases by having both colours, and they're squiggly because I'm unsure, and that's my reasoning. Nathan steps aside and takes a moment to breathe. Our guy needs to center himself for a second here. Paige gets out of the car and then, of course, slams Nathan's hand in the door. This time, he does in fact feel it. Paige apologizes and offers to buy Nathan breakfast. Paige asks Nathan if he likes pancakes. And the rest is history. And also why I have a pink line here, because all we needed to hear was pancakes, and we know where this is going.
Pancakes, just bookmark it. Thank you.
We actually see Croatoan and Vince watching what's going on in Haven from inside the barn somehow. Not gonna question it, whatever. You guys go for it. Croatoan asks Vince if Audrey couldn't have just come back to Haven as Audrey. Vince says, controversially, yes, she could have, but she wanted to go back and fall in love with Nathan all over again. I'll break that down later, don't worry. The final shot of Haven is the Bronco driving towards town with Nathan, Paige, and James inside. Our closing song for the series is the one that woke Audrey up the first time we ever met her. It also played in her car radio the first time she met Nathan. And finally, it plays again now as he drives her back home. That's it. That is Syfy's Haven. It is so rewarding to go back and watch those final 2 episodes and also analyze them with the depth that I needed to write the script. It's obviously very emotional. There's no way you're going to get out of that, unfortunately, but the show really does close out quite well. And I'm really sad that I've skipped those episodes so many times upon rewatches, but I definitely won't be skipping them again. They're so nice. I think I'm going to try and get the end credits to play somewhere on the screen as I debrief a little bit. Hopefully those credits are playing for you now so you can see some of the names that are responsible for creating the show. Let's discuss a few theories and a few thoughts about what the ending of the show implies. There's definitely a few threads that need to be pulled and some questions that I'm sure everyone has. I'm sure the Haven Wiki has some answers. I haven't looked at it yet just for the sake of making this video. I wanted to kind of get my theories out before looking at that, but I do encourage you to have a look and see if what you're looking for is on there. So what do I think the ending implies? Are we implying that because Audrey was able to decide to come back as someone else, Paige will eventually remember that she is Audrey and then go through that whole realizing who she is thing again? Would that not be a place of trauma for Audrey? It feels like a strange decision for her to just not come back as herself if she could, because of how much trauma she has around losing herself, becoming someone new, feeling like she's been erased.
Her identity, her relationships, her feelings, all gone, all vanished forever. And she's just going to come back and have to do it all over again and find out everything all over again and go through all the trauma all over again.
So I don't love that decision for her, but are we to assume that eventually she will become herself again? If not, if she is now forever Paige and she'll never remember being Audrey, will Nathan tell her who she was? Because otherwise that's kind of like lying and being deceitful throughout the whole relationship, is it not? Like, he needs to tell her that he knew her as someone completely different, right? Or does Paige have some knowledge of that past? She didn't seem to recognize Nathan. So either she's going to remember who she is at some point, or Nathan is going to have to tell her that she was Audrey. Otherwise, that relationship is a bit of a fraud. I've got questions. I personally choose to believe that eventually Paige will have memories come back to her and she'll be Audrey again, because I love Audrey and I want her to be back. But I don't know if that's what they were going for. So if it wasn't, I hope that they were going for the fact that Nathan would tell her about their memories together maybe and go down that kind of angle. That's my thoughts on that. Are Vince and Croatoan immortal, omniscient presences now that can just watch Haven forever from the barn? Is that what they are? Was that what Howard was? Was Howard watching all the time? Because he didn't know that Myra had been replaced by Audrey, but also he did get shot, so maybe he couldn't be watching. But how is he in the crystal if he got shot? Questions. Is Paige going to age like a human or like an alien? Because if she doesn't know what's going on and who she is and doesn't have any Audrey memories, she's going to be so confused when she just doesn't get old. I already discussed the James thing a little bit, theories about how he works, how he's either a fresh new Nordry baby or he's a reincarnated James Cogan. Either way, it's baby James, and that's really fun and nice. How is he going to age though? Is he a halfling like Dave, obviously, and Dave obviously aged like a human? So James will age normally. I've just figured that out. There we go. Ghost Duke only appearing for Dwight. Was Ghost Duke real, or was he something that Dwight conjured up in order to deal with the dead Lizzie situation, and he knew in himself that if he believed, then she would stick around? I don't know. If Ghost Duke wasn't just in Dwight's head, why could only Dwight see him? Did Ghost Duke make that decision to only appear to Dwight? Can he make the decision to appear again and maybe contact people that he cares about, Nathan and Audrey namely? Is he ever able to just kind of appear at will? Finally, I've heard mixed opinions about whether the creators knew they were coming back or not. So if they did think they were coming back, what was going to be the go with Ghost Duke? Was he just going to be a ghost? Was Eric Balfour not going to come back? What was going to be the go with that? Also, we would have had all the Paige Audrey questions answered. So did they have a plan? I kind of want to know the plan, but I kind of don't want to know the plan. But they might have known that they weren't coming back. But in some of the audio commentary, they seem to say that maybe we will come back. So they were hoping to come back. I don't know. That's it for my Haven series finale questions. Let's get into Nathan's unhinged moments. They were nowhere near on the scale of what they have been previously. He's really subdued himself the past 2 seasons. All of season 5, he hasn't been very unhinged. So these are quite tame. Starting with him lying about Kira being dead, and then therefore getting everyone in the school wanting to kill him. Lying about her being dead was fairly unhinged, especially when people started to threaten his life. But again, it made sense. So it wasn't that unhinged, but it was a bit kind of not the smartest idea from Nathan. Next up, I wanted to call out the fact that the first time Nathan ever saw Croatoan, he just unloaded his weapon. He shot at that man a lot, as he likes to do. Fairly unhinged. Finally, and my favourite, is him having the idea to go back in time, not only to save the day and figure out the whole Thinny situation, but also he had to witness his son be murdered. So that was a bit of an unhinged idea and a bit of an unhinged thing for him to experience. But again, made sense for the plot, and I loved that episode. He's been calming down as he's gotten older. Good job, Nathan. Love you as always. So this time I'll start off with most traumatized, because we have a few more categories to get through in this video. Once again, all 3 of our main trio are candidates. Duke died. His best friend suffocated and murdered him. So that alone is like, I don't really need to say anything else, I think, actually. Audrey, her mum died. All of the dad stuff happened. She had to see Nathan kill Duke. She had to sacrifice herself once again and disappear out of existence to make the barn and save Haven. So that's just a few things for her. Fairly traumatic. But this time, it's my favourite man. Mostly because bad things happened to Duke and Audrey, but Nathan got left behind, and now he's in Haven without them. Whether or not Paige becomes Audrey again, regardless, he was left alone in Haven without his best friend and without Audrey. And he had to kill Duke. He had to murder Duke with his bare hands. That's his oldest friend. He's known Duke since they were kids. That is beyond traumatic, and we saw the effects of that just a little bit, and it was really quite distressing to watch. Sorry, Nathan. Everyone got 2 rounds of being most traumatized, so at least things were balanced. Moving on to my top 3 for season 5, volume 2 specifically. Number 3 spot, we've got the trial of Nathan Wuornos. Obvious reasons, it's got my favourite man's name in the title, but also it was the first time that we kind of saw a bit of a redemption for his story arc actually meaning something for him as an individual character. The past 2 seasons specifically is when things really started to not be happening a lot for him as an individual, so this was the redemption for that. I really liked it. Also the concept of them having to hold a trial inside the Haven High School because it's the post-apocalypse. It was very cool and different, and I liked it a lot. Number 2 spot for this season is Just Passing Through. Time travel episode. Obviously it has to be in my top 3. It was so cool to go back and see more of Lucy, to see young Chief, to have the whole Nathan Chief dynamic. I won't shut up about it, I'm sorry. Most significantly about that episode is the Colorado kid's death, and actually witnessing that and seeing that unfold to get to that iconic newspaper picture. Incredible work. One of the reasons why it's not at number 1 is because of the stupid discrepancy about the Colorado kid having the death tattoo premonition, and we know that came true for Duke, so what's up with that? In my number 1 spot for the final season is Both Now and Forever. episodes 25 and 26. I'm not sorry about it. They go hand in hand. You can't have one without the other. As much as I hate the fact that Duke died and that Audrey went away forever and it was all very devastating, I think that they did close out the series really, really well, bar a few things that I was kind of vaguely upset about, but at the end of the day, I think the show really wrapped up quite beautifully. Now and forever, I will never skip you on a rewatch again. Next up, I wanted to rank all of the seasons based upon my recent rewatch, obviously to write this script. So this order changes all the time, but this is my most recent ranking. Alrighty. In the number 6 spot, we have season 4. I still love that season. It's got some really iconic stuff. I love all the Lexi situation. It is hilarious. It's got some really iconic moments. It builds the world fantastically. I just think that it's a bit too much in terms of info and exposition in comparison to the rest of the series. They really go hard into it very quick, and it just is a little bit jarring, I think. But I love the season. It's so much fun. It's probably the most chaotic season as well. For right now, it's at my number 6 spot. In my number 5 spot, I've got season 5A. Again, love this season. It's such a fun journey. I really, really enjoyed Mara, as I mentioned a few times. I hate that I love her so much. It's out of my control. I think she was an incredible addition to that season. I didn't love how long the Audrey trapped in Mara stuff went on for. I think that could have been a bit briefer, or we could have explored it to a different level than what we did. It was fairly surface and we got a lot of repeats of the same things happening over and over again. All of the Duke stuff in that season is absolutely incredible. Subjectively, with my opinion, it is so low because of how Nathan doesn't really do a whole lot in the entire season, and that upsets me. But again, incredible season. We get incredible revelations about Audrey and Mara and their history, and it's just a really cool season overall. Number 4 spot, we've got 5B. I just talked about it for probably over 2 hours, I'm assuming. I thought it was fantastic. It is a beautiful close to the series. So many fantastic all-time favorite moments in this season. I love it. Controversially, my number 3 spot is season 1. I love season 1. You cannot not love season 1. That's a double negative, I'm sorry. You have to love season 1. It sets the tone beautifully. The environment is incredible. The atmosphere is a character in itself, and the actual characters are established so well. You get really invested in who they are as individuals very quickly. You also have all these mysteries laid out for you, all these relationships that you want to know more about. It sets everything up really, really well. Number 2 is season 2. I haven't really seen a season 2 that so perfectly builds upon what was laid out from season 1. It's a perfect follow-up season. We have a really great antagonist for most of that season in the Rev. That whole storyline is handled really well. The history of the town is enriched and everything feels very real, and it feels like there's still plenty of mystery to keep going. Love season 2. My all-time favorite season, no one is surprised, it's season 3. This is the one spot that will never change on my ranking. I think it's a perfect season. I explained why I feel that way a lot previously. I won't rehash it. I love season 3. Therefore, once again, no one should be surprised that my favorite episode of all time throughout Sci-Fi's Haven is Thanks for the Memories. That season finale is a perfect episode. I love every part of it, and I raved and raved and raved about it in that video. I just thought I would point out all of the big things for the final recap video. Here you are. This is all my opinions on the series as of my most recent rewatch. The title of the series finale really kind of reflects the experience of what a comfort show is. Haven and all of our comfort shows are forever. We get to revisit them whenever we want. We get to live with our characters for hours upon hours. We get to enter the world that they live in and feel those experiences with them. We get to laugh, we get to cry, we get to appreciate things we might not have noticed before, and we get to repeatedly feel frustrated at things that have always annoyed us or plot lines we don't enjoy. We get to hate characters, love characters. We get to experience all of it whenever we want. And that's what comfort shows are for. I just caught a glimpse of this in the viewfinder again, and I'm so strangely emotionally attached and very proud of these whiteboard trees that I've created. What an absolutely chaotic mess. I love them. I'm not ready to bring them down. I wanted to say another huge thank you to everyone for watching, everyone that's watched the previous parts, mostly again to people that have subscribed to this channel. That is so wild to me that people have watched these videos and wanted more and hit subscribe. Thank you so much. I do want to say directly to the people that are on this channel specifically for Haven content, thank you so much for coming here, for watching these videos, for reminiscing about the show with me. And I understand totally if you don't want to hang around for anything other than Haven related content, but I do want to give you a specific shout out. So many of you have said that no one else you know has seen the show before, so it's really cool that we have this space now to talk about about the show. I'd love for you guys to talk about your favorite episodes in the comments. We can keep discussing the show through these comments, and we can keep reminiscing and experiencing it through these videos. So I thank you so much for being here, and I really hope that you had fun revisiting the show through these recaps. For those of you that are not just here because it's Haven related content, and maybe you enjoy the channel regardless, I want to let you know that I'm currently already working on my next video, and I'm so excited to keep making videos. I've had so much fun with this. It's brought me more joy than I could have ever expected. So I hope you'll stick around for more videos. I'm really excited to make them. I can't wait to see a few of you hopefully stick around for my new content as well. That's it from me, and that's it from Syfy's Haven. Hopefully I'll see you very soon.